My name is Marquise Harris Dawson. I am chairperson of the Los Angeles City Council's Planning and Land Use Management Committee. We are joined for this meeting by the Chief Legislative Analyst's Office in the person of Roberto Mejia, and in this Los Angeles City Attorney's Office in the person of Terry Kaufman Macias. Mr. Mejia, can you start us off by calling the roll?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Councilman Marquise Harris Dawson as chairman.
Yes, here.
Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield present.
Councilmember Curran Price. Okay. Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo. Councilmember John Lee. We only have 2 members, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we'll hold and we'll wait for a third member so that we can commence our business. But if you're listening, Mr. Cedillo, if you could come on camera, I see your name in a black square, but I don't see you. So we need a third member.
Rise to shine, everybody.
Mr. Cedillo, Councilmember Cedillo has joined us. So now we have 3 members. We have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Cedillo, Mr. Blumenfield, for joining us. I also see that we have Mr. Price, Mr. here for the record.
Mr. Price.
For the record. Thank you, sir.
All right. So as we continue to refine our use of technology during this the national quarantine that the City Hall is abiding by, we are continuing to refine the platforms. We introduced this a couple weeks ago, and we're going to try it again today. Different than most days that we've been meeting virtually, public comment will not be taken all at once. It will be taken item by item. And you will be asked to take your phone off mute when your item is called. We'll begin the process with general public comment or multiple comment items, and then we will go item by item. So, Mr. Mejia, if you could read the instructions and the phone number for public comment, we can begin our meeting.
Sure. Council member, these are the instructions for public comment, the rules. Members of the public who would like to offer public comment on the items listed on the agenda should call 1-669-254-5252 and use meeting ID number 161-644-6631 and then press number sign. Press number sign again when prompted for participant ID. Once admitted into the meeting, press *9 and request to speak. During public comments, city staff will call on members of the public by the last 4 digits of their phone number. By pressing *9, callers raise their virtual hand. Once the caller hears the last 4 digits of their phone number, they will need to press *6 to unmute themselves and should be ready to speak. Once the caller is ready to speak, he or she must state their name and the item or items they are calling to speak on. Failure to do so will result in the call being muted and subsequently disconnected. Appellants and or their representatives and applicants and or their representatives will be allowed to speak for a total of 3 minutes per side unless otherwise noted by the chairman of this committee. Members of the public wishing to speak on one agenda item only shall have an opportunity to speak for 1 minute. Members of the public wishing to speak on more than one item shall state that and shall be allowed to speak for a total of 2 minutes. As this is a special committee meeting, we will not have general public comment. We're only taking public comment on items on the agenda. This concludes the comments, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mejia. So before we go to our general public comment, we have two items where there's a request to continue. One is item number 6, and the other is item number 7. And if on dates to be determined, if there's no objection to that, that'll be the order. And then we have a number of items, Mr. Mejia. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So items 1 through 5 and 8 through 12 that we will take on consent. So if we could read those items or summaries of those items into the record, and the chair is recommending that we accept those items on consent.
Very good. Item 1, Mr. Chairman, this is Mr. Bertoni's weekly report. He's the Director of Planning. Item 2, Mr. Chairman, this is an appeal by Annette Esther. She's appealing the decision of the Associate Zoning Administrator to require the discontinuance of the operation of a bar with alcohol sales at the establishment known as Banditos, Tacos, and Tequila. Item number 3, Mr. Chair, this is a motion by Councilwoman Martinez, seconded by Mr. Harris Dawson. It's basically an instruction to create a measure to place on the ballot to revise the city's zoning code. The Rules Committee has acted on this motion on September the 23rd of this year, Councilman. Item 4 is a motion by Councilwoman Martinez, seconded by Councilmember O'Farrell. It's instructing the Planning Department to develop criteria for high-value projects and amend the planning process so that these projects are diverted from the Plum Committee and are directly vetted by the City Council. Item number 5, Mr. Chairman, this is a motion by Councilwoman Martinez, seconded by Councilmember Krikorian. This is instructing the Planning Department to revise the processes and procedures ordinance with additional criteria in regards to land use entitlements, such as legislative actions and the granting of conditional use permits. Item number 8, Mr. Chairman, this is an appeal filed by Alicia Bartley. This is an appeal relative to the construction of a self-storage building, extra storage. And item number 9, again, this is an appeal, contains various appeals as it relates to the construction of a 185 residential unit project along with the associated parking spaces. They're appealing the environmental determination for this project. That was number 8. Item, let me see. Sorry.
10.
Yes, that was not, sorry, that was number 9, the one I just read. Number 10, this is again an appeal relative to the CEQA. This is a mixed-use project, and I believe it's situated in CD3, and it will include affordable units, some very low-income units associated with the project. And again, they're appealing the adequacy of the environmental clearance. Item number 11, this is also an appeal. It contains some very low-income units, and they're appealing the adequacy of the environmental clearance. It's a 57-unit housing project, and I believe it is situated in CD 4. And item number 12, Mr. Chairman, this is a proposed ordinance by the Planning Department, and it is an ordinance denoted as the Restaurant Beverage Program Ordinance, and it proposes an administrative process relative to on-site consumption of alcohol incidental to restaurant uses and the eligibility criteria, performance standards, and enforcement procedures. This concludes the items that I've been asked to read into the record, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mejia. So correction on my part, mistake. These are the items that we're going to consider today, so they've been read into the record. The previous items, 6 and 7, were the ones that we will continue. So now we'll begin. There is no general public comment for this meeting because there's a special meeting, so we'll go straight into consideration of item number 2. And if you are interested in speaking on item number 2, now is the time to press star 9. If you're interested in speaking in item number 2, press star 9. We'll begin consideration of this matter with a report from the Department of City Planning in the person of Mr. Theodore Irving.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. This is Theodore Irving, the Zone Administrator of Record. So this is a restaurant that is approximately 2,050 square feet. It's located in South LA. This restaurant has been operating since the early 90s in this area. In response to a citywide nuisance abatement referral form, the Office of Zone Administrator issued a determination of an investigation that this was determined to be a nuisance in the area, and it required that we proceed with a revocation abatement process pursuant to ordinance number 164-749. So we started that process last year. We issued a determination letter last year for this project, concluding that there were a number of items in which the applicant failed to comply with city regulations. So what I'd like to do at this time is summarize some of the issues that were raised during that revocation. So we have concluded that there were a number of incidents in which the applicant had violated city regulations. They were in violations of building and safety action. The Building and Safety Department issued a notice order to comply with the operation because this particular facility, when it initially opened, was allowed a building permit that did not include a restaurant. And so the operator, as of 2016, began to operate a restaurant in addition to a bar, which was what it was originally permitted to be used for. The operator continued to create other nuisances in this area. Building this Public Works Department has cited the operation multiple times for this particular restaurant putting things into the public right-of-way from an outdoor kitchen area. So the Sanitation Department cited this operation a few times. This particular operation had drawn the attention of the City Attorney's Office. It got involved with this operation many times. LAPD was drawn to this particular site because it was selling alcohol to minors. Again, this operation, drew the attention of the city family many times. The state ABC conducted several investigations of this site, and it became problematic for ABC. And the City Planning Department initially got involved, not just initially got involved, but it also got involved because we asked that the applicant file a plan approval to look at the conditions of the operation. The operator did not comply with our request to file a plan approval, so we as a city had to file a plan approval and this revocation action because, again, the operator was not cooperative. And then finally, this operator has drawn the attention of USC Public Safety Department and for its selling of alcohol to students at USC who were under the age to receive alcohol sales. So we conducted a hearing in October last year, took testimony from everyone, and it was taken under advisement for a period of time at the request of the applicant at the time. She indicated at that time that she did not have legal representation, and she initially asked for a 6-month advisement period. I granted her 30 days to get her legal representation in. She took that time. We did not hear any legal representation at that time. And so after a few months, I began to prepare the determination report and finally issued a determination report in sometime in May of this year. That report has subsequently been, that determination has subsequently been appealed, and that's what's before us right now, is appeal of our determination. And so now, by the way, our determination recommended that this operation be discontinued because of all the nuisance activity surrounding the site. And part of the determination concluded that this has had a long history of nuisance activity. If you look at the determination letter, the first verification action started in the early 90s. We've since had a plan approval to correct some actions in the mid-90s. We thought we had it under control, but this site, under this new operation, a new operator, has continued to be a problem for this particular council district. And so is our recommendation, continues to be our recommendation, that this operation be discontinued. Now, the applicant's appeal basically says that, for the most part, that we were in error in making that determination, and that for the most part that she did not jeopardize or does not jeopardize the health and safety of the community around in the area. We disagree, or at least I disagree with that. Again, we provide substantial evidence that this operation has been problematic. As I stated before, this particular operation has drawn the attention of the city family many, many times. And the most recent action since 2016 is a clear indication that this site is problematic for the city. She indicated also in her appeal that the city family department, that the vice and city family were trying to create a story, and that they were problematic around this area. That's not the case. The facts lay out that through all the records, through building and safety, through the records of Department of Sanitation, LAPD, there's no creation of a story, as alluded to in her appeal. The facts lay out that this particular operation has been problematic for the city because of the continued attention it has drawn of the city family. She indicated also in her appeal there were a lot of false statements that were made at the hearing. Again, I refute that. We consider all of the statements that were made at the public hearing. Again, we researched these statements and found that there was really no false statements made by LAPD or anyone else. Excuse me for a moment. I got to turn this photo off. I apologize. I had two phones going on. And then she indicated that this matter with her business was triggered by the USC students at the school. While it may have been triggered by the students at the school, my research into all the departments within the city have indicated that this particular operation has drawn the attention of many departments. Again, Building and Safety, Department of Public Works, Bureau of Sanitation, LAPD, Planning Department. And so this operation has consistently drawn the attention, and while it may have been triggered by the activity that was created by USC students, it nonetheless has had a history of bad activity with regard to the city. She indicated she has a number of signatures in support of the operation. I granted there were some signatures, but she didn't have anything to refute, or the operator didn't have anything to refute any of the actions that were issued by the city family. So I didn't have any of that. Yeah, she indicated she was given an opportunity to reply to some of these things. Again, as I indicated in the outset, at the hearing, she was given an opportunity to get her representation in place. We expected her representation to contact me before the decision letter was issued. That did not occur, so I went ahead and issued a decision. It should be noted again that this particular operation only has a permit to operate as a bar. There's no permit to operate as a restaurant, and during the time in which she was given to rectify that outcome or that situation, the operator did not correct that. In essence, she did not apply for a builder permit that will allow her to have a restaurant operation. So in fact, she's illegally operating a restaurant in a facility that only has a permit for a bar. So that concludes my presentation, Mr. Chair. I'm available for any questions you may have.
Good morning, Committee Chair Harris-Dawson and honorable council members. This is Matthew Lum from City Planning. I just wanted to also let you know, in addition to City Planning staff being available to answer any questions, we have representatives from LAPD as well as the California Alcohol Beverage Control here to answer any questions you may have related to the subject property. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Irving and Mr. Lum. We will note that we have available officers with the Los Angeles Police Department as well as officials from the Alcohol Beverage Control section of the state of California. I think now we'll take the opportunity to hear from a representative of the appellant, Mr. Koslin. If Ms. Binyam, if we could bring Mr. Koslin into the meeting now for 5 minutes or less.
Mr. Koslin, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Why does it take 9 here?
You now have 6 minutes.
Hello, can the council hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much. Chairman, and may it please the committee, my name is Adam Koslin of the firm Solomon, Saltzman, and Jameson on behalf of Ms. Anat Escher and Banditos Tacos and Tequila. Briefly, before I get into the main body of my remarks, it was my understanding that a request for continuance to December 3rd was pending before the committee. It's marked on the online agenda. I don't know if there had been a prior decision made to refuse the continuance, but I remain in some confusion on that point. Our office has been retained for 2 weeks, and we would renew that request for continuance and ask that a determination be made on the record.
Terry Kaufman, Macias City Attorney's Office. It is just a request on the agenda. It doesn't indicate that a continuance was granted. So if the committee wanted to go forward with the hearing, they are certainly available to do that today. And that's what appears to be happening, is that they're going forward.
That's a correct assessment of the situation. Thank you, Ms. Kaufman, Ms. Diaz.
All right. I appreciate the clarification from the city attorney and the committee. Very briefly as to the facts of the case. Banditos, first of all, is not a nuisance. The primary, notwithstanding the ZA's assessment of the situation with multiple city departments being involved, the primary mover here are the concerns, as reflected in his determination letter, about underage individuals entering the premises, which, under the terms of the premises alcoholic beverage control license, they are not allowed to do, and once inside, consuming alcohol. The problem here is one of location rather than one of intent. This location is very close to the University of Southern California, as has been noted, a large educational institution, and as is common cultural knowledge, college students like to try to procure alcohol to drink and for social events, notwithstanding the fact that many of them, if not most, are under 21. In this particular case, a significant fraud is being perpetrated on banditos by those very college students who possess and use quite sophisticated false identifications in order to gain access to the bar, and then once inside to gain access to alcohol. Dozens and dozens of these false identifications have been identified and seized by banditos, and turning away these students. And Bandidos has also engaged in significant measures that would not normally be required by the law to identify these, such as procuring a multi-$1,000 scanning machine. Unfortunately, technology advances, and so the ability to defeat even the most vigilant bar operator is present, where IDs that can have their barcode scanned or the magnetic strip scanned and still show the bearer to be over 21 can be procured by these students. Moreover, since the zoning administrator's hearing, this premises has taken the extreme step of banning USC students from the bar entirely. Additionally, with regard to the alleged expansion or operation as a restaurant, with respect to zoning Irving, a plan check has been filed and was back in February of this year under plan check number B20LA03511. That's number 20014-10000-00804 for the expansion and addition of a kitchen. It has not finalized, but there has been an attempt to comply here. And this brings me to my last and most salient point, which is that the imposition of such drastic a remedy as revocation is improper in this case. Ms. Escher has only been operating Bandido since 2016. The prior city efforts to condition the grant of the conditional use permit occurred in the early 90s, over 20 years before Ms. Escher's establishment took over the premises from the prior occupant, and involved a different set of conditions which subsided, were resolved, and then resumed due to any number of changing conditions. A lot changes in 20 years. As courts have held, most prominently in the Korean American Legal Advocacy Foundation case, the step of revocation is an extreme one, and other measures such as placing additional conditions on a license, citation of a malefactor, or other attempts to work with the licensed premises, the permitted premises, to resolve the issue must always be preferred if they have not yet been tried. They simply haven't yet been tried with Ms. Escher, who, based on her voluminous correspondence with both the police department, the vice squad, and the zoning administrator, Irving, has demonstrated a willingness to cooperate and to ameliorate these problems. Lastly, we submitted a written brief to the committee and for the committee's consideration, which detailed several procedural issues that we believe were presented by the posture of this appeal. And finally, I would simply make a common sense appeal. This is a thriving business in the heart of Exposition Park.
That's your time, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we'll go to public comment on this. item. So if you want to speak on item number 2, you can raise your hand by pressing *9, and then Ms. Binyam will call on you. When she does, you will unmute yourself and speak for 1 minute on this item.
Caller with the number ending in 5576. Can you please press *6 to unmute?
Hi, my name is Jared Meisler. Been a resident in Los Angeles for 45 years. I actually was calling for the restaurant beverage program to make comment on that, and just happened to hear about this issue with Ms. Escher. I happen to be a longtime associate.
Oh, sir, that's not the item that's being heard right now.
It's Ms. Escher, right? And Banditos?
You just said
Yes.
Okay. So
Sorry.
I would just like to say, as a fellow operator, as a colleague, and over the years I've been a tenant and a neighbor of Ms. Escher's buildings. I really know her to be a hands-on and really caring operator. She's always at her business, and when there are problems, I know her to be a person that immediately fixes them. So I understand there's a history of problems at this building before she took possession. I understand, sounds like maybe there have been a couple since she has taken possession, but I really do know her as a fellow operator, as the type of person that takes care of problems and does not let them persist. So I also think it's really important with all that's going on right now, and just in general, to put an end to a thriving business that the community really needs. It seems really, really counter to what's needed in the world, and in Los Angeles. So I'm in support of Bandito staying there. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 5179. Can you please press *6 to unmute?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Karen. Good morning. My name is Karen, and I am a community leader actually from outside of this area, contacted by numerous individuals who live in the neighborhood, reason being that they are fellow Rams season ticket holders who reside in that area. There is the magnitude of the substantial negative impact made on the residents because of this operation cannot be underestimated. Sleep deprivation. Also noted that it is being operated as a nightclub with live DJ entertainment. I received a complaint early yesterday morning from one of my fellow season ticket holders advising that his wife had to go to work late because she was unable to sleep. For some reason, it's Tuesday nights and Thursday nights seem to be the worst nights for the party operations. The COVID-19 spread is obviously of a great concern given the severity of the pandemic.
Ma'am, thank you. That's your time.
Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 1476. Can you please press *6 to unmute? Caller, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hello, my name is Tamiko Nakamoto. I live in the immediate area. Our neighbors and myself and my family are completely sleep deprived with live music, and it doesn't end at closing. The people, her patrons, come out into the neighborhood where they park and continue partying. Below our bedroom windows, they block our alleys, they block our entrances, They throw trash. She may keep her area clean, but her patrons abuse the surrounding neighborhood. She has ignored all COVID-19 regulations. She opened on June 18th when the county said opening can take place on the 19th. She does not enforce any of the distancing or mask. Quite often, if you walk by, you will find her staff may be masked, but her patrons, many of them are not. In a small space as that, on the 18th, she had over 50 motorcycle people all parked on the sidewalk and in the back. And then those motorcycles leave at 2 in the morning. And it wakes up everyone. This is happening on a regular basis. The cooking is occurring outside, and the smoke is infiltrating into our homes. We cannot open our windows because of the smoke. The changes to her building. Okay.
Caller with the number ending in 1403, can you please press star 6 to unmute?
Fucking game, motherfuckers! All items in general public comment, please. I get about 3 minutes.
You get 1 minute.
Get 1 minute on this item, and if you're off topic, I got a mute button over here for you if you're off topic. So stay
all right.
Please.
Okay there, Caesar. Now, the problem with this project is this. You got to do 3 things. You got to pay off the building inspector, you got to pay off the council member, and you have to donate to the office holder account. Now, this motherfucker didn't do that, so bye, they're going to shut you down. But I believe we can meet in the parking lot tonight with Mr. Price and his associates I had. I believe $25,000 should do it. I would also recommend mediation by Mr. Cedillo. I think we can work this shit out. But if not, they're going to close. But they got the best tacos and they got the best pussy I've ever had at that bar. I love that bar. I hope it can stay open. And finally, Gil Cedillo for Mayor 2022. He the best motherfucker ever. And thank you, blah, 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 and God bless drinking, because we need to drink right now. This is a pen. God bless America, and God bless Gil Cedillo, man, for 2022.
That's your time, sir.
Caller with the number ending in 8147, can you please press star 6 to unmute?
Good morning, council members. My name is Stephen San. I'm calling from the Westwood Village community right near the UCLA campus, and hearing the concerns and the complaints and the issues that the neighbors are having is something that I can definitely relate to. I was very disappointed to hear the representative from the restaurant owner say that using a ID swiping machine was some extraordinary, burden. No, commissioners and board members, council members, that is a standard business practice, especially near a college campus. To hear them complain that, students have sophisticated fake IDs. Yes, they do, all across the country. That is hardly an excuse to allow underage folks entering a bar. It is the responsibility of the bar owner who is exercising the privilege of a conditional use permit to operate a legal and lawful business. Hearing food being prepared outdoors and smoke and all these other issues, this is clearly not an operator that has real concern for the welfare and the issues of folks who live around that area. They deserve peace and quiet, and it's very clear to me that this operator has not made proper and reasonable and business expectation attempts to operate a proper business. And I would finally say that when something becomes a nuisance abatement hearing, that is the most serious situation.
caller with the number and 9580. Can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself? 9580.
Yes, hi, this is Will Wright with the American Institute of Architects. I was really calling to talk about the next item. My apologies.
Okay. We have one more caller on the queue for this item, but it's a private number. So if you've raised your hand and you know that you're using a private number, please press star 6 now. Oh, and they're no longer on the call.
Wait, they're still there.
Can you please unmute yourself?
Hello, sorry about that. I'm actually with the Alcoholic Beverage Control. Did you want me to give my statement now, or will we have another minute?
That's you can give it now. Thank you.
Okay, so the owner-operator has a Type 48 license, which is public premises in regards to only minors or only individuals over the age of 21. Since she's been operating, she had a minor decoy violation in which we utilize minors under the age of 21 to go in, and the employees failed to serve the individual, so they failed in that operation. Numerous times we've been in the location, and specifically what kind of right before this led up to me and my involvement. I was there on October 16th, 2019, where she was actually catering to the USC kids and was hosting a party for USC people. When we ended up securing the location, we had approximately 24 minors in the location. The owner-operator actually defended the person she had contracted with, inquiring as to why he was being detained and questioned, whereas he was causing the minors to be furnished, because there was no direct sale to the individual minors.
That's your time, sir.
Okay.
No. I'm sorry, Ms. Binyam. This is a representative from ABC. So, sir, if you could just complete your report. Thank you. Our apologies.
Okay. I was trying to run through real quick. So, you know, being a Type 48, only 21 and over allowed at the location, we expected the security or employees to be the experts on identifying false identifications. That's usually where I get all my insides and outs, my training, because they look at IDs more than I do. So she did use the excuse that she purchased this $1,000 machine, yada, yada, yada. And bottom line, after this date, 10/16/19, I went back to the location, provided one-on-one training, trying to assist them in telling them there's nothing better than the eye, and using a loop to look at some of the micro printing on the IDs to actually establish validity or not. Since then, since this whole COVID thing started, we had been out there because there were complaints in regards to her not complying with the governor's order, the social distancing, not wearing masks. And on August 14th, we went out there and Ms. Esther was at the location. She refused to wear a mask upon contact by law enforcement. She was also employing minors in her restaurant portion, which is pretty much a mobile taco stand in the back of the location. So it's not located inside, it's outside. I also may know that on my prior visit in October, in which her attorney at that point responded back that the food or catering services was a taco vendor within close proximity. Nonetheless, it's on their property, and they refused to provide records. They refused to provide me with any surveillance from inside the location. So Ms. Escher kind of continues to actually pose a risk, health and safety to the community in regards to how she continues to operate, allowing the no social distancing, still allowing the DJs and she just pretty much allowed the movement from indoors to outdoors, which would make no sense in regards to the neighbors, the building, the apartment complex that's right behind there. So I feel for those people. She did apply for the county alfresco permit, but failed to apply for there's an ABC, Alcoholic Beverage Control COVID catering permit for the outdoor operations. She's failed to comply with that. And I believe after the August incident, there was even a murder within close proximity, but the fight actually started at Banditos. So I think that's all I have for now. Any questions?
Thank you. We can resume public comment, Ms. Pena.
Caller with the private number. So we have 2 more private numbers on the queue. Can you please unmute yourself if you've raised your hand by pressing star 6?
Hello, this is Detective Harris.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you. Can I speak or should I wait?
You can speak.
Okay, thank you. Again, my name is Detective Dana Harris. I'm assigned to the Los Angeles Police Department. I'm the officer in charge of the citywide nuisance abatement unit, and I was brought into this investigation approximately 18 months ago by the Southwest Area Vice investigators and officers. I will, after listening to Investigator Vergara and his testimony, I won't go back over what he has already said from the zoning administrator and being a Type 48 license and all the rest of it. I will say, though, this. In listening to the testimony that has been spoken, I do know that there have been over 30 separate calls for service, over 104 different persons who were cited and arrested for alcohol-related crimes that have happened at the establishment. There's been one attempted kidnapping directly behind, as Investigator Vergara stated. There's been a homicide that started out from the inside of the bar that spilled out into the outside where the argument ensued, where the actual homicide occurred. The numerous violations for minors being in possession of alcohol and identification, the numbers of calls including group fights, ambulance assault with a deadly weapon, which are 2 intoxicated persons in the street. I think what it comes down to is this. This is, as stated before, this is a nuisance. This is a nuisance location where it has been reported. I can speak to it as a former watch commander with over 32 years of service with the Los Angeles Police Department. This place, there is no consideration for the neighborhood. There's no consideration for the persons who are complaining about the smoke. There's no consideration for persons who are complain about the noise. At each of these locations or each of these instances, one of my jobs as being the officer in charge is to make sure that the sergeants and to make sure that the officers make contact with the people in charge, tell them about the violation, and explain to them exactly what happened in concerns to why we're making our citations, why we're there. At each of these instances, Sergeant Ercolano has made contact with the actual persons, including Ms. Escher and her bar establishment and security guards. And at each time, they have explained to her why there has been a violation, and they, as with Investigator Vergara, offered to teach her and put her on best business practices. And at each time, she has told the investigators that she's going to change, it's going to get better, she's going to move on. And each time the officers go back, there's another violation and yet another violation. And then Investigator Vergara spoke briefly of the October violations, which has me most concerned, because not only did we find kids inside a number of kids inside who were in possession of false identification, not only do we have the crimes of violence that are occurring there, but when we actually went in, there were kids who were hiding inside the establishment. It was just ridiculous. So again, I don't want to cover that everything the investigator Vergara and zoning administrator has covered before his, but I will say this: there is no consideration again or very little consideration, I should say, for the neighbors who are constantly having to deal with the numbers of problems that are occurring that spill from outside of the location. I expect at least, if you're gonna, it's a privilege to own a business in the city of Los Angeles, and if you are going to own that business, you have to be a good neighbor. You have to be a proper neighbor and take your neighbors into account. And I just don't see any of that happening coming from this location. This is one of the worst locations, bars, ABC type locations that, unfortunately, that I've been around. And I could not suggest more that this would be a revocation for the use for this establishment. Thank you. Hello.
Hello, are you done with your comment?
Yes, I am done with my comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I believe I've got Reserve Officer Paul Strauss, who is also a physician. I believe he's on the call, who would like to speak also.
Okay, he can unmute himself by pressing *6. Caller, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Yeah, I like to thank you for the support bar. Very good for people in business.
Okay.
How to go for bar.
Hang up on Mr. Spindler.
Yeah, just. And that concludes our speakers for this item.
All right, thank you so much. We had testimony from ABC, Alcohol Beverage Control, the Los Angeles Police Department, our planning department, and a number of community members. Mr. Curran Price, if you could start off the discussion on this, then we'll hear from other members should they have discussion as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank the testimony we've heard from agencies and the public. This bar has really been a nuisance in my community for several years, as you've heard. The Vice Chairman of LAPD has worked tirelessly with other agencies to work with the operator to ensure the health and safety of the patrons as well as the surrounding community. But based on the facts provided by the zoning administrator, we support the move to deny the appeal filed by the operator and sustain the determination by the zoning administrator to require the discontinuance of the operation of the bar with alcohol sales at the establishment known as Banditos, Tacos, and Tequila for the property located at 900 West Martin Luther King Boulevard. So those are my comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Price. Questions from any other members? Hearing none, Mr. Price has a motion before us that I'll second. Can you call the roll, Mr. Mejia?
Yes. Councilmember Harris Dawson as chair.
Yes.
Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Councilmember Curran Price.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo.
Cedillo, aye.
And Councilmember John Lee. We have 4 members. We have a majority decision.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you to all the staff and folks who called in, and Mr. Price as well. That takes us to items number 3, 4, and 5, which we will consider together. There's not a staff report on these items, so I'll open it up for discussion or questions if there are any. Members? Mr. Blumenfield.
Yeah, question on 4, having projects go directly to Plum instead of directly from Plum to count, or avoiding Plum entirely and going to council. I just want to, I guess, ask staff about this. I agree that we want to make sure we, especially given what's happened in the past with corruption of members, that we want to make sure we're giving everything the most scrutiny possibly can. I'm a little worried about avoiding Plum because that's where most of the scrutiny happens. But I understand the needs that these things should be considered by the full council and not just rubber stamped by the full council to some extent. So I wonder if they would consider, as they're doing this, perhaps allowing it to come to Plum, but making sure that it has to, as part of it's a report back, but as part of the report back, to consider options whereby the full council would also have to hear all public comment on it, and so that it would force discussion in public council, but not necessarily always avoiding Plum Committee, making that discretionary, so that we can avoid the Plum Committee and go straight to council if we want to have a full council discussion, but that we can also have that discussion in Plum Committee, but that would not, as it normally does, would not preempt public comment and discussion in council. So make it an additive effect as opposed to a subtracting effect. I don't know. I agree with the intent of what's going on here, and I want to make everything as accountable and transparent as possible. I'm just a little worried when I see that one, that we're potentially removing a level of scrutiny that could be positive.
Ms. Solomon Carey.
Thank you, Councilmember Blumenfield. I hear your concerns, and it's been noted. We'll certainly look into that in the report back, giving the opportunity to both hear the discussion at Plum, if so chosen, but also and specifically at council, particularly if it wasn't heard at Plum. Happy to.
Okay, great. Great. We'd love to, continue to think about that and see what planning comes back with. And similarly on number 5, I don't quite understand what, again, I want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to improve transparency. And what are the kinds of protocols that we're talking about in terms of discussions with council members, council offices? Because I want to make sure we're extremely transparent, but what I don't want to do is make it difficult for council members to represent their community, and make sure that we have a critical role in being that mediator with the community's needs on different projects. So what kinds of things are we talking about?
Abu Solomon Carey from Planning for the Record. I think you're referring to the second moving clause, Councilmember. Is that correct? With regards to...
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I will point out that the CLA is also named. Typically, planning doesn't get involved, in the discussions that happen between applicants and the council. I think in this case, we have probably to rely on our CLA to weigh in on that. We absolutely have, some items or some ideas to share about the first moving clause having to do with processes and procedures, and about, the amount of time it takes for a project to come before the committee. On the second moving clause, we really play less of a role.
Okay, I guess this is, go ahead.
This is Arthi, Department of City Planning. Just wanted to add to Ms. Solomon Carey's remarks that we hear your kind of questions and commentary, and while we will not be the lead on that particular move clause, we're happy to work with the CLA's office to kind of raise some of the concerns that you're referring to.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mr. Price, Mr. Cedillo.
One question: what are we calling high value? What's the dollar threshold? I didn't see that.
Thank you. Yes, we are in exploration of what that means. I think there's different ways to assess high value. maybe typically one might think of it as a dollar value, but we're more accustomed to looking at items in terms of square footage, thresholds that would trigger, say, site plan review of 50,000 square feet or 50 units or more. So in our report back, we'll be happy to flesh out potential options for what high value might be. But I think at first glance, our thought is to make something that's legible at the onset for the city administrative process, so that the clerk would be able to initially identify whether something was high value or not. So perhaps the dollar value might not be the most evident.
Right. Well, I certainly support the notion of greater scrutiny and making sure there is an openness in the process. But I concur with my colleague, Councilman Blumenfield. Also, I don't want to just take the Plum Committee out of the equation altogether. I think there should be some opportunity to look at, to weigh in, even as it moves forward. So I look forward to supporting it as it moves forward. Thank you.
Mr. Cedillo.
Yes, thank you. Let me add my voice to the consensus that's emerging on this matter. I agree with both colleagues. I wasn't quite sure what problem we were trying to solve, but I think Mr. Bloomfield has laid it out. I'm not quite sure this is the best way to solve that problem. What I want to know is a couple things with respect to this. Does this not go against the Voting Rights Act? Are there not some questions as we move away from the committee process? Because that's what this does. It just takes us away from the committee process and moves us towards a kind of town hall meeting process with respect to how the city of 4 million people, how it conducts its business. And this seems, to the extent that it undermines the discretion and the deference to local council members, as Mr. Blumenfield had noted, that it may undermine the Voting Rights Act and the ability for us to elect representatives by district, because in undermining and taking away the power of council members to have substantive impact on development within their district, then it takes away the rights of the locals to elect people from their district to represent them. So I think we need to be thoughtful about how we proceed on this. There is a certain deference that exists, separate points, a certain deference that exists to council members for developments in their district, and I think we need to be sensitive to that. I think I wasn't sure what problems we were trying to solve, but I do know that one of the questions that would address the concerns that Mr. Blumenfield pointed out would be to be more thoughtful about how we move items to the floor. So in other words, having a specific timetable in which the committee has the opportunity to vet these matters, because this is the work of the committees, is to vet matters and prepare them for the council to review them and vote on them. And that seems to be a problem specific to this matter. And that is the problem. That is, to me, the mechanism to address this. There is substantive discussion from planning on this matter in terms of schedules, firm timetables, and expediting these matters. That, to me, would seem to be a way to address the concerns that Mr. Blumenfield has laid out in a real way, without taking away the voting rights of the various members of the 15 districts that the city is broken up into. And so I would ask that that be part of it. Other than that, I'm not quite sure, Mr. Chairman, that I'm prepared to vote for this, because it doesn't seem to address the fundamental problems that Mr. Blumenfield and Mr. Price have laid out.
Thank you. Does anybody from staff wish to comment on Mr. Cedillo's discussion items?
Sure, this is Hapu Salmateri again. I just want to add that we certainly will be looking into that, Councilmember Cedillo. We do have time to act, currently required for every entitlement, particularly, and well, for every type of entitlement. So we will explore that to see how that process could be reevaluated or looked at within the confines of the motion. That hopefully will illustrate some of the options that could be discussed in this committee.
All right. Thank you, members. So it looks like we might need to consider these items separately as opposed to together, like I suggested earlier. Mr. Mejia, so could you begin by calling the roll on item number 3?
Yes. Item 3, council members. Councilmember Harris Dawson as chair.
Yes.
Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Field aye.
Councilmember Curran Price.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo.
Cedillo, aye.
And Councilmember John Lee. Absent. So we have 4 members. Majority carries.
Thank you so much. Item number 4.
Item 4, Mr. Marquise Harris Dawson as chairman.
Yes.
Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Councilmember Curran Price.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo.
Cedillo, no.
That's a no. And Councilmember John Lee absent. So we have 3 members. That's a majority. It carries.
Excellent. Thank you. And then item number 5.
Councilmember Harris Dawson as chair.
Yes.
Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Councilmember Curran Price.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo.
Cedillo, aye.
Councilmember John Lee absent. We have a majority. It carries.
Were there any no votes in that?
There were no.
Mr. Mejia, I have a request of the Department of City Planning that we bundle the reports on all of these and report back in 60 days if it's not specifically outlined in each of these measures, but we get a report back on all of them in 60 days and we get that together.
Yes, that will be the action to concur with the Rules Committee and in addition to include the Housing Department as instructed by the Rules Committee to incorporate issues of fair housing and equitable distribution and to add the 60 days, Councilman.
Got it. Thank you so much. That takes Mr. Cedillo.
And the bundling, is this for the report backs of all the 3 items that passed?
Correct.
3, 4, and 5?
Yes.
Correct.
Could I only ask, with all due respect, sir, that we have some attention paid to the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, rather, the Voting Rights Act and the First Amendment as they explore these matters. I note that there's a move to create more district voting in government and in local government. There is resistance, for example, in the city of Santa Monica. There's resistance in the Los Angeles Community College Board District. And we have moved, and I think it's clear that we all want to move more towards more voting and civic participation. And some of the directions that these proposals are before us would seem to undermine that direction and seem to undermine First Amendment communications and abilities for efficiency of service for the public. And so I think we want to be vigilant of that in terms of how we go forward.
Certainly, that will be denoted and added if that's the will of the committee, Councilman.
Without objection, that'll be the order. We'll ask the city attorney to comment on those issues in particular.
Okay.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Cedillo and members. And thank you, Ms. Solomon Carey and Ms. Varma on this. Can we go to item number 8?
Yes. Item number 8, council members, this is an appeal by Alicia Bartley. This relates to the construction of a self-storage facility and the adequacy of the entitlements that were granted by the planning department.
Excellent. So we'll begin deliberation of this item with a report from Department of City Planning. We'll begin deliberation of this item with a report from Department of City Planning. Do we have a representative from the Department of City Planning? I think.
Sorry about that. I was on mute. Good morning, committee members. Before you is a recommendation from the City Planning Commission to approve a zone change from CR-2 and P-2 to TQC2-2 in association with the proposed construction, use, and maintenance of a 7-story self-storage facility with a 925 square foot ground floor retail customer service space and 33 vehicle parking spaces. Also before you is an appeal of the City Planning Commission's approval of a conditional use to permit a self-storage use in the C2 zone within 500 feet of a residential use, and an appeal of the determination of site plan review for the project. As stated in the appeal report submitted to the committee, the proposed zone change is in conformance with general welfare and good zoning practice. The land use designation for the site is regional center commercial, which according to the framework element of the general plan is meant to serve as a focal point for regional commerce, identity, and activity. The project site is located in Koreatown, one of the densest neighborhoods in Los Angeles that is characterized by high-rise buildings and a mix of commercial and residential uses. The zone change to C2-2 would bring the yard and height requirements for all properties on the west side of the 600 block of Catalina Street into alignment and is in keeping with good zoning practice. With regards to the conditional use and site plan review appeals, the findings for approval were reviewed and adopted by the City Planning Commission. The project will provide a desirable commercial use to serve the numerous new multifamily residential developments being constructed in the immediate area. The 0-foot setbacks along all property lines are in conformance with the setback requirements for commercial uses of the proposed C2 zone. While the project site abuts residential uses to the west, the residential development was constructed with required residential setbacks to maintain access to light and air for the units if and when development were to occur on adjacent properties. As such, staff recommends that the Plum Committee recommend for council action to approve the zone change from CR-2 and P-2 to C2-2 and to deny the appeal and sustain the CPC's actions in approving a conditional use and site plan review for the proposed project. Staff also recommends that the Plum Committee find pursuant to CEQA Guidelines Section 15074B after consideration of the whole administrative record, including the negative declaration as circulated on March 12, 2020, and all comments received, that there is no substantial evidence that the project will have a significant effect on the environment, and to find that the negative declaration reflects independent judgment and analysis of the city, and to adopt the negative declaration. Staff is available if you have any questions.
Thank you so much. Now we'll hear from our appellant, Ms. Bartley. Ms. Binyam, do we have a applicant or appellant on the line?
Yes, she's on the line. Ms. Bartley, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Thank you. Good morning, honorable committee members. My name is Alicia Bartley with the law offices of Gaines and Stacy, and we represent the appellants with regard to this matter. The appellants are the respective owners of the office building immediately to the north of the project site and the mixed-use residential building immediately to the west. The project approved a zone change that eliminates P zoning on the subject property, which results in the ability to provide a 0-foot setback at the property line shared with appellant's mixed-use residential building. The elimination of the P zoning will remove a planned buffer between the residential uses and any redevelopment of the subject property. This results in balconies and windows from our client's building facing a structure over 91 feet in height with no architectural variation, no windows, no landscaping, no mural, nothing. The applicant claims that any project redesign at this late stage would be a substantial burden, but providing a 5 to 10 foot step back on the upper floors of the proposed self-storage building would not require changes that would impact Metro's subsurface easement or a reduction in the proposed building footprint. The applicant appears to be unwilling to provide even a mural or a green wall to soften the impacts to these existing residents. In addition, the negative declaration for the project does not comply with the requirements of CEQA. The project utilizes SB 743 to exempt the project from review of aesthetic impacts, which this exemption intends to encourage transit-oriented infill development consistent with the goal of reducing greenhouse gases. However, the proposed self-storage facility is not transit-oriented. Transit-oriented infill projects provide additional housing with easy access to jobs and services. These projects can increase property values, inspire further revitalization, and stabilize communities by attracting new resources and a greater diversity of income levels. From an environmental perspective, redevelopment of infill sites reduces greenhouse gas emissions by reducing car trips, but the proposed self-storage project accomplishes none of these objectives. The proposed self-storage use misutilizes a prime location near the subway, as using alternative modes of transportation such as the subway or a bicycle is simply not possible when moving household goods and furniture in and out of storage space. The project is not reasonably termed an employment center project, given that it is over 140,000 square feet in size and may only have 2 to 4 employees. Based on this, we respectfully request that this committee grant this appeal and condition the project on providing some mitigation to the adjacent property owners. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from the applicant.
Ms. Bartley, Brenner, I'm sorry, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? Ms. Stacy Brenner, can you please press *6 to unmute?
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Oh, wonderful. Good morning, council members. My name is Stacy Brenner of Brenner Consulting Group. I am the representative for Banner SoCal Developers, LLC, that's the applicant, for the extra space storage proposed project located at 621 South Catalina. A little bit of background in regards to the project description. The project involves the grading of an existing 24,877 square foot surface parking lot and new construction, use and maintenance of a 143,000 square foot, 7-story climate controlled self-storage building, extra space storage. The project will include 925 square feet of ancillary office space at the ground floor, which will include a retail space as well. Project was submitted more than a year ago. Prior to submitting, the applicant team reviewed the 2014 approved mixed-use project at the same location to understand the site constraints and why that project did not move forward. Our team spent nearly 2 years working with Metro on the design to ensure the project is feasible. Metro and the applicant team is now on the 1 yard line for project approval. Given the positive coordination with Metro over the last 2 years, the applicant team prepared the M&D, and there are no significant findings or impacts. No significant impacts. As far as community outreach and support, our team has done extensive community outreach. We had 3 neighbor council meetings over the last year. We listened to the community and redesigned and incorporated specific design features as suggested by the neighbor council. These included pedestrian-friendly, storefront aesthetic enhancements, pavement articulation, rooftop solar, enhanced design, one-way entrance and egress, and all activities related to the use are inside the building to reduce any noise that's associated. This also includes high-tech security and access. The following support letters have already been submitted and incorporated into each hearing. That includes Councilmember Herb Wesson and his office, the Wilshire Center Koreatown Neighbor Council. Again, we went to them 3 different times. Steve Kane, Korea Korean Youth Community Council, that's KYCC, Mr. Craig Stubbing, Steve Hahn, Julie Hahn, Dr. Key, Wayne Hahn, and Mu Han Bay, CEO and MC Property Management, LLC. There's also the former president of the Wilshire Center Koreatown Neighborhood Council that supports this project. In addition to the 3 neighborhood council meetings that we went to, the project also had an officer hearing that was properly notified, as well as the CPC hearing, which granted unanimous approval. Some of the benefits of the project, it meets all city policies, goals, and objectives, and is compliant and compatible with the surrounding uses of the neighborhood. In fact, the appellant requested the exact same setback grievance and was granted the approval back in the project in 2012. Again, the project did extensive outreach and support that has occurred for nearly 2 years. We've had 6 hearings to date, including this one, on this project. The applicant and design team has worked extensively with the neighborhood council, community, council office, planning department, and Metro to design.
Been exhausted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll go to public comment on this item. Folks have 1 minute to speak. So if you'll listen for your identifying information and come into the meeting and share on this item.
Caller with the number ending in 5654. Can you please press *6 to unmute your number?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Jonathan, and I wanted to speak on item number 4. Personally, I believe that it is crucial that the higher value project...
We're not on item number 4 right now, and these are single item agenda items, so you can only speak on the item being covered.
How can I speak on item number 4 if we never had the ability to make a public comment? If I could just give my little insert real quick in my 1 minute, that'd be amazing. So I believe that the higher value project should have to go through smaller committees first because they are able to assess what the community may need or want. By allowing high value projects to go straight to the city council,
wrong
not
item,
only be
sir. If we could...
yeah, so how can I comment on item 4?
You'll have to come back when we discuss it in rules or when we come back and have the report back because we've moved on from that item. So we can go to the next caller. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 5654. Can you please press *6 to unmute? #5654. Can you please press *6 to unmute your number? Caller with the number ending in 3188. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good morning. My name is Jamie Huang. I'm here as a deputy from Councilmember Herb Weston's office. I'd like to go last after everyone finishes providing public comment. I just wanted to indicate that I'm here. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 8147. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Yes, good morning, council members. Similar to the previous commenter, I actually had raised my hand to offer public comment during items numbers 3, 4, and 5, and if someone could kindly explain why there was no public comment during those 3 items, because the agenda does notice and says if members of the public would like to offer public comments for agendized items, we should raise our hand, and we did that. And I'm just curious and confused why we were not allowed to make any public comment for those 3 items. An answer would be very helpful. I think there's several other callers that have a similar question. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, caller, and thank you to the previous caller. That is a mistake of the chair. I moved on to discussion by members and overlooked public comment. So after we're done with this item, we will come back and take public comment on 3, 4, and 5, and we'll wait for any further instructions from the city attorney if we need to do other things to rectify that matter. So we'll continue with this item, and then we'll come back to public comment on 3, 4, and 5. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 4663, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Yes, I am not speaking on this item. I wanted to speak on item 12. I'll just redo it when we get to that.
Thank you. So that concludes the speakers for this item.
All right, is there any discussion from members? I know we have a representative of Council District 10 on the line. If we could hear from them, and then if there's any comments by members of the committee, we'll take that at this time. Council District 10. All right, members, any discussions on this item? If not, Mr. Mejia, I'm putting forward a motion to deny. If you could read the proposed instruction.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Deny the appeal by Alicia Bartley on behalf of 611 Catalina Building, LLC, and 616 Kenmore, LLC, and thereby sustain the determination of the Planning Commission in approving a conditional use and site plan review for the construction, use, and maintenance of a 143,668 square foot, 7-story self-storage building, extra space storage for the property located at 621 through 631 South Catalina Street, and also adopt the findings that were read into the record by the planner when he presented the case.
Excellent, thank you. So we have the motion before us. One more time, Council District 10, if you're on the line, now would be the time to provide comment before this item is seconded and voted on.
So we have this council staff on the line. Caller, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Yes, can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I raised my hand and tried to unmute myself earlier, but apparently no one was able to hear me. Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone, the honorable members of the committee. My name is Jamie Huang. Once again, I'm here as a representative of Councilmember Herb Wesson's office to express support for denying the appeal on item number 8. We concur with the applicant's statement made earlier when they did their presentation on this item regarding 621 South Catalina. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So there's a motion before us. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Blumenfield. Mr. Mejia, can you call the roll? Harris Dawson, yes, but you got to take yourself off mute, Mr. Mejia.
I'm sorry. Councilmember
by now.
Councilmember Harris Dawson is chair.
Yes.
Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Councilmember Kern Price.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo.
Cedillo, yes.
Councilmember John Lee's absent, so that's four members. That's a majority, carries.
All right. Ms. Coffin-Macias, the chair was so mesmerized by the comments of the committee members that we overlooked public comment on items 3, 4, and 5. So I'm prepared to open up public comment now on that matter. Can you please let us know if there's anything else that we need to do to be in compliance with all the rules?
Terry Kaufman, Mesilla City Attorney's Office. So I would move to reopen items 3, 4, and 5 for the purpose of taking public comment. Take the public comment, and then if it doesn't change the action, you can make a motion to make the same action that you made before.
All right. So we'll put forward a motion now to reconsider or reopen items 3, 4, and 5 for the purposes of public comment. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Blumenfield. Without objection, that'll be the order. So now if we can go to public comment on items 3, 4, and 5, you can press star 9 to raise your hand. And when your number is called, you'll press star 6 to unmute. Ms. Binyam, if you could take us to public comment on 3, 4, and 5.
Caller with the number ending in 1403. Can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself?
Welcome back, niggas. Welcome back. Yes. So let's talk about these items. We're going for number 3, the city zoning code. Fuck the city zoning code. Leave it alone. It's so perfect, isn't it? Ask Mr. Weezer. Item number 4, high-value project. You heard the great Elsadea talk about how we're handbrake for more public participation. Yes. Do away with this piece of shit and allow the voting rights act not to be suppressed by those guilty of felonies like John Lee. That's why he not here, because he gonna go to prison for all that wicked shit that Marchese helped him do. So that's why we need. And finally, Miss City Attorney, your agenda is not agendized as.
Caller with the number ending in 6660. Can you please press star 6 to unmute?
Good morning, and thank you for revisiting or allowing for public comment during this time. My name is Ann Le, and I am providing comment on item number 3 on behalf of the Little Tokyo Service Center, as well as the Alliance for Community Transit, also known as ACT LA. We support the motion before the Plum Committee to study creating a zoning reform ballot measure that will ensure that LA can meet its RENA allocation, as well as produce and preserve affordable housing required to meet the needs of Angelenos. We believe that any measure must include strong language that guarantees the replacement of any RSO units removed from new housing development. It's important that zoning reforms will not create added incentives that will encourage developers to buy RSO buildings and demolish the scarce affordable housing LA already has. Additionally, the measure must require that the distribution of RENA allocation be done equitably across the city so that a bulk of new development of housing for low-income and moderate-income households is produced in historically segregated high-opportunity neighborhoods where multifamily housing has been prohibited. LA must not plan to only build new housing in already dense and low-income neighborhoods. This is unfair and unjust, and we must take action to reverse the discriminatory planning and zoning practices of the past by ensuring that neighborhoods with higher incomes, better schools, access to good jobs, and transit options are inclusive and share the brunt of accommodating. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 9412. Can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself?
Good morning. My name is Armando Flores with the Valley Industry and Commerce Association, VICA. Thank you for coming back to these items for public comment. For years, LA has been facing a housing crisis and significant shortage of housing units available to Angelenos, which are a result of a slow and burdensome development, approval, and construction process in the city. Reform is needed, but it must be meaningful and effective to truly achieve the goal of building more housing. We appreciate Council President Martinez's leadership in introducing these 3 motions as they signal a real commitment to make changes in which the city can move towards meeting its housing goals. However, the motions do currently raise some concerns, and some of those concerns are the same ones members of this committee have expressed, as these motions may result in unintended consequences for the approval process. There are many factors and legalities to consider with respect to our land use and planning process. We want to ensure that any policies that are approved are fair and effective for all communities throughout LA. We look forward to being a partner and providing input as deliberations on these proposals are continued. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 5654, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hi, Council. Thank you for coming back to this. My name is Jonathan, and I wanted to speak on item 4. Personally, I believe that it is crucial that the higher value projects should have to go to smaller committees first because they are better able to assess what the community may need or want. By allowing high value projects to go straight to the City Council will not only diminish the importance of the public's opinion, but may also allow for unsustainable development due to corporate interests. It seems to me that the Planning and Land Use Management Committee is better equipped to evaluate public needs and allow for sustainable development that will benefit the community it is working for. Lastly, without having the proper hearing, the City Council will prioritize high-value projects rather than working with the public to enhance the community. Thank you for your time.
Caller with the number ending in 1474, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Good morning. I'm Michael Shilstone with Central City Association. Thanks for coming back to these items. We support the intent of these 3 motions and the goal of reducing subjectivity and political influence in the land use approval process, creating certainty, and expeditiously delivering much-needed housing. Updating the city's outdated community plans and general plan is fundamental to moving away from project-by-project approvals. However, this takes substantial time and resources. The Council President's proposed ballot initiative offers the opportunity to consider how we can reduce discretionary review in the short term. As we detail in the letter we submitted, we believe there are a host of policies to address this that could also alternatively be accomplished legislatively. This includes amending site plan review, eliminating queue conditions, allowing P zones to be developed using adjoining zoning, and lowering parking requirements and providing flexibility for transitional height requirements on commercial corridors, among many other recommendations we make. We also believe creating an independent commission to make a comprehensive set of recommendations for reform, as raised by former city officials in a recent LA Times op-ed, is also worth considering. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 8147, can you please press *6 to unmute?
Good morning, council members. Again, thank you for coming back to these items. My name is Steve Sand, calling from the Westwood Community Council. I want to address items 3 and 4 respectfully. Council members, I truly appreciate the incentive, particularly on item number 4, given the very unfortunate circumstances surrounding Councilmember Weezer on the Plum Committee. But it has been said that sunshine is the best disinfectant to corruption. And in this case, I think sunshine is involving the public and the people's business. Removing the ability of projects to be heard before a Plum Committee, which is a far superior forum than a full council, I think goes in the wrong direction. Respectfully, we've been to council many times, and we know when you have 15 council members sitting around the horseshoe, not all 15 are paying attention. Some are there, some are in the back room, some are on their cell phones or talking to staff. And I think the effect of number 4 would be contrary to its purpose. And in terms of number 3, the revised zoning code, I want to agree with several of the earlier commenters that this is a very sophisticated issue. Zoning is not something that necessarily is done by the ballot box, but allowing a more nuanced approach, I think, is a better approach. And I think that these 3 motions, though their intent may be positive, I think their impacts might yield what we call unintended consequences. Thank you.
No, just.
Caller with the number ending in 0489. Can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Thank you very much. My name is Tess Taylor, and I'm commenting on items number 3 and 4. I will also be appearing later in the agenda. I want to commend the chairman and the councilpersons who support transparency. Also, several of the comments made here are also very good. Jonathan and Steve, it's very, very important that sunshine is the best disinfectant. What a great way to put it. And while we do need housing, it is true, let's not lose sight of the fact that it is affordable housing that we need. Los Angeles has grossly overapproved market rate and luxury housing. In fact, there may be even too much, according to the Southern California Association of Governments Executive Director, Komi Ajisi, who made this comment just a few months ago. I want to also point out, with respect to RENA, the regional housing needs allocation, that the city does not have the obligation to cause units to be built, but only has an obligation to remove restrictions. And this important distinction cannot be lost. Legislators have
Thank you. That's your time. Caller with the number ending in 0933. Can you please press star 6 to unmute?
Good morning. This is Jamie Hall, and I'm speaking solely in my private capacity right now. I want to say that I agree with Councilmember Blumenfield that this should be additive, not subtractive, and you get a better shake at the lower committees in terms of public hearings go. And so I would like you to consider that. But the other thing is that this is not going to solve anything if ultimate discretion and deference is given to the council member whose project, whatever high-value project is located in. And that is really the root cause of the corruption, is this really nasty habit of giving deference to that particular council person. And that habit has to be broken, because otherwise the corruption that occurred will continue to occur. And that's not a rule that you're going to make. It's going to have to be behavior. The city council members must change their behavior, and each of them must use their independent thought in deciding whether or not to vote yes or no for a project.
Thank you. That's your time. Caller with the number ending in 1470. Can you please press star 6 to unmute? (1470). Can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself? Caller with the number ending in 0203. Can you please press star 6 to unmute?
Thank you. This is David Wheatley in the Silver Lake area of LA, and I will be arguing on number 11 later on, or presenting on number 11 later on. Thank you for the person who asked the question about what is high value, usually viewed as being multi-story, big budget, big square footage, but in some neighborhoods, a project that's going through can be small in both of those categories or all of those categories, and yet have a high impact on the neighborhood. And it's my suggestion that these should be included as well. Also, we've had such a tough time navigating the city bureaucracy, with all due respect, that I think we really need this committee oversight to help members of the public get through it. So I think every project should go through Plum. Thank you.
caller who raised their hand on this item with a private number, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Kill Cedillo for mayor! He's the greatest thing ever!
So caller with the number ending in 4073, can you please press *6 to unmute?
Hi, I'm calling to comment on items 3, 4, and 5. My name is Cynthia Strathman. I'm the Executive Director at Strategic Actions for a Just Economy. We're a nonprofit in South Los Angeles that focuses on housing justice. And we support the motion to study creating a zoning reform ballot measure that would ensure that Los Angeles can meet its RHNA application, as well as produce and preserve affordable housing requirements to meet the needs of Angelenos. And we also urge a requirement that RHNA allocations be done equitably across the city so that the majority of new development of low-income and moderate-income housing is produced in historically segregated high-opportunity neighborhoods where historically multifamily housing has been prohibited or protested. And this can help reverse the discriminatory planning and zoning practices we've seen in Los Angeles by ensuring that neighborhoods that have higher incomes, better schools, and more jobs also include low-income families. We really don't want to see plans to build new housing only in dense and low-income neighborhoods, which can lead to gentrification and displacement. And we're really also supporting any measure that includes strong language guaranteeing the replacement of any RSO units.
Caller with the number ending in 9927, can you please press *6 to unmute? Can you please press *6 to unmute?
Hello?
Hello?
Yes. I don't know if the audio on the internet is not matching up with the audio here, but there seemed to be a comment. I'm commenting on item number 4. That's what the internet audio is currently on.
Yes, that's correct. You have 1 minute, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Elizabeth Israelowitz. I am a member of the Wilshire Center Koreatown Neighborhood Council, though I'm not representing the Neighborhood Council, as well as the Responsible Urban Development Initiative. And I find it really concerning and disturbing that there is a consideration of reducing public input on any type of land use issues. This is where we live, and to reduce any type of public input is very concerning. Any restrictions of public hearings, including foregoing committees for what are considered high-value projects, which are probably the majority, not the majority, but many projects that are in the Wilshire Center, Koreatown area, reduces public participation, goes against the spirit of democracy and the Brown Act. Also, these actions would provide preferential treatment for large business developers by allowing them to get fast-tracked. And many of these developers are currently under investigation or should be under investigation as they provide significant contributions to members of the city councils and the mayor's election funds. Also, any type of special treatment such as this is completely inappropriate and is likely to have unintended consequences of increasing bias towards those developers, providing them with exclusive benefits and against the community members and organizations. It would reduce the ability of neighborhood councils to hear and vote on such developments and is likely to increase the likelihood of corruption by allowing for fast tracking and, again, a lack of public process for these items. Thank you.
All right, I believe that concludes public comment. And so, members, if there are no changes to your previous pleasure on these items, I'll move that we affirm the previous action. Without objection, seeing none, that'll be the order. That takes us, Mr. Mejia, to item number 9.
Yes, Councilman. Item 9, this is an appeal filed by Supporters Alliance for Environmental Responsibility. They're challenging the adequacy of the environmental clearance, the EIR, and the CEQA findings. And this is for the construction of a 185 residential unit property in CD13.
Excellent. We'll begin deliberation of this item with a report from City Planning.
Yes. Good morning, council members. I'm Erin Strelitz with City Planning. Before you is an appeal to the City Council regarding the certification of the Environmental Impact Report, number NV 2015-4630 EIR, for the 1375 St. Andrews project. This EIR was originally certified in June 2019 by the zoning administrator, along with approvals for related case number ZA 2015-4629 ZAA, ZAI, WDI, SPR, which involved the demolition of 2 vacant buildings and the subsequent development of a new residential building containing 185 units. In July 2019, 2 appeals were filed on the whole of the zoning administrator's actions. In September 2019, the Central Area Planning Commission denied both appeals and sustained the zoning administrator's actions in certifying the EIR and approving the related ZA case. The Central APC's decision on the ZA case was final and not further appealable. In October 2019, one of the original appellants, Lozo Drury LLP, on behalf of the Supporters Alliance for Environmental Responsibility, also known as SAFER, filed a CEQA appeal. Staff has responded to the appeal in detail in the appeal response dated November 10th, 2020, which was submitted to the council file along with an erratum to the EIR, which makes minor corrections and clarifications to the EIR. The staff appeal response addresses issues related to air quality, traffic, public services, human health impacts, and affordable housing requirements. In addition to the appeal, Lozo Drury LLP, on behalf of SAFER, had also submitted additional correspondence outlining concerns beyond those provided in their original appeal. Due to its length and submittal less than 48 hours prior to the Central APC hearing, the submittal was deemed a non-compliant submission and not delivered to the commissioners or considered at the hearing on September 10th, 2019. Nonetheless, a brief rebuttal of these additional points has also been provided in the appeal response and attachments, which addressed air quality and greenhouse gas emissions. It should be noted that the Plum agenda incorrectly stated that the EIR should be adopted rather than stating it should be certified. And therefore, staff recommends that the Plum Committee deny the appeal and certify the 1375 St. Andrews Project EIR and erratum dated November 2020 and adopt the 1375 St. Andrews Project environmental findings, statement of overriding considerations, and mitigation monitoring program. And that concludes the staff presentation, but I'm available for questions you may have.
All right, now we'll hear from our appellant, Mr. Flynn.
Mr. Flynn, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. My name is Brian Flynn on behalf of the Appellant Supporters Alliance for Environmental Responsibility for item 9, the 1375 St. Andrews project. Requesting that the committee grant the appeal because our review of the project with the assistance of indoor and outdoor air quality experts found the project would have significant impacts that were not addressed or mitigated in the EIR. We submitted comments to that effect to the Planning Commission and again to this committee. In the short time I have, I'd like to focus on the indoor air quality impacts of the project and why they're not adequately addressed in the EIR or the staff's appeal response. We had the project reviewed by a certified industrial hygienist, Francis Offerman. He is a renowned indoor air quality specialist, mostly with work related to formaldehyde. And the EIR just does not address indoor air quality at all. Mr. Offerman explained that the primary sources for indoor air quality impact is formaldehyde emissions from composite wood products, such as plywood, fiberboard, particle board, and these wood products are commonly used in residences for flooring and cabinetry, baseboards, interior doors, and trims. And the formaldehyde used in those glues off gases over time and can pose a risk to future residents. And in California, these products do have to comply with the regulations of the Air Resources Board, and those limit the amount of formaldehyde in the product. And staff's appeal did argue that the project would comply with those regulations. However, our expert analyzed the project assuming that the composite wood products would comply with those regulations. He found that even if they do comply, the emissions would still pose, excuse me, an increased cancer risk of 125 per million. That exceeds the South Coast Air Quality Management District's threshold of 10 in 1 million. And Mr. Offerman concluded that's a significant impact that should be addressed in EIR. There are feasible mitigation measures for that impact. There are products available that go beyond the CARB requirements, such as no formaldehyde added or ultra-low formaldehyde products. Those products are commercially available. We've seen developers and agencies around the state agreeing to use them, and we encourage that. So we urge the city to go back and address these impacts in the EIR. And for that reason, and the other reason in our comment letters, we request that the committee grant the appeal and not approve the project at this time. Thank you.
All right, now we'll hear from our applicant.
Dale Goldsmith, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Great, that worked. Good afternoon, honorable committee members. My name is Dale Goldsmith. I'm a partner with the law firm of Armbruster, Goldsmith, and Delvac, representing the applicant CZEN. I'd first like to commend Ms. Strylik and the rest of her staff on a very thorough and comprehensive staff report. I would like to reiterate that this appeal pertains only to the EIR. The project itself is not before you. Therefore, the question before you is whether the comprehensive and complete EIR complies with CEQA and whether the planning director and the Central Area Planning Commission erred in certifying the EIR. All of the assertions in the appeal and in the last-minute letter that the appellant submitted have been thoroughly addressed in the staff report. For the reasons set forth in the staff report, the appeal is completely without merit. Specifically, the staff report extensively addressed indoor air quality, including an expert response, and concludes, based on substantial evidence, that impacts would be less than significant. Moreover, the appellants are presenting the exact same arguments that the Area Planning Commission unanimously rejected. Therefore, we respectfully request that you follow staff's sound recommendation, uphold the Area Planning Commission's action, deny the appeal, certify the EIR, and adopt the associated findings. I'm available for any questions you may have. Thank you for your consideration.
All right, thank you for that. Now we'll hear from Council District 13, Mr. Bullock, if you're on the line.
Good morning. My name is Craig Bullock, and I'm with Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell's office. And we are supporting the staff recommendation that is before you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bullock. That takes us to public comment on this item. So folks will have 1 minute to speak. Now is the time to press *9 to raise your hand on this item. Ms. Binyam.
Any speakers wishing to speak on item 9, can you please press *9 to raise your hand? Caller with the number ending in 4883, can you please press *6 to unmute? 4883. Please press *6 to unmute.
Apologies, I want to speak on item number 10.
Okay. All right, call his name and give him that status. Caller with the number ending in 1403.
Thank you. I'm so against this project.
Caller has talked about 2 items.
Motherfucker talking. It's my time, crazy bald head.
Immediately and get him out of here. He's
crazy mother.
He will not speak again during this meeting.
Okay, noted.
Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 9923, can you please press *6 to unmute?
Hi, this is Elizabeth Israelowitz. I had previously spoken. I am speaking in opposition to the lack of environmental review. This area has been significantly impacted by construction, and we have not adapted environmental reviews to COVID or to the changing air quality that has been occurring by the ongoing construction within this area. And because of that, we really, without an evaluation, a comprehensive evaluation, there is no way to know what the impact of any more construction is and will be on the area. Right now, Western is a complete bottleneck, and it's continuing to get worse. We do not have the proper amount of street trees as recommended by the EPA and by the City Council and the Mayor's Office to really be the green city that we claim we are. And without the trees to get rid of the street level particulates, any further construction is a significant health risk to children at local schools, which there are 2 in the immediate neighborhood, to residents, to the shoppers, and to the workers of this area. There needs to be an environmental review for any of these types of large projects, especially when we have chain projects occurring over and over again in the same neighborhood. It really is putting an undue burden on the residents to assume that their health isn't being impacted by a cumulative impact. We are looking at one project at a time. By looking at one project at a time, you're not actually looking at the environmental impact. You're not considering what's really happening in this city when we pile on project over project over project, which we know has significant cumulative environmental impacts. So to not do any type of review for something that is in an area that's seen so much development recently is just irresponsible. And I ask you that the Plum Committee protect the residents and the stakeholders. I'm a stakeholder in CD 13. I live not far from this project, and that you allow for an environmental review as the state law intended, as a way to protect.
Caller with the number ending in 0229, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Thank you very much. I would like to speak on item 10 after this item, please.
Thank you. Caller with the number ending in 8969.
Hi, thank you guys for taking some quite eccentric public comments today. I just wanted to call in support, actually, of rejecting the appeal for the project on item number 9. Just to add on to the point the other person was making, in terms of climate change and in terms of producing housing, while there may be some short-term impacts in terms of construction, in terms of long-term impacts in terms of suburban sprawl, and in terms of pushing our development to the ex-urban fringes. If we're not going to build it, we're going to have to build it somewhere. In terms of doing that, the environmental damage that happens from building housing so far away from our urban areas and from our job centers and from transportation vastly outweighs any sort of construction impact that may be here for temporary. So as someone who has just recently turned 18 and will be going into this climate crisis, I really implore you guys to reject this appeal so we can move towards a denser future. Thank you.
That exhausts our speakers for this item.
All right. Any discussion from members on this item? Seeing none on the grid here, Mr. Mejia, we have a proposed denial and instructions on this matter. If you could read those into the record.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The action of the committee is to deny the appeal filed by supporters, Alliance for Environmental Responsibility, and thereby sustain the determination of the Central Area Planning Commission to certify the EIR and the environmental CEQA findings, statement of overriding considerations, and mitigated monitoring program for the demolition of 2 vacant buildings and construction of a new 226,160 square foot residential building containing 185 residential units and 294 on-site parking spaces for the property located at 5604 through 5632 West DeLongpre Avenue and 5605 through 5607 West Fernwood Avenue and 1365 through 1375 St. Andrews Place.
Excellent. Thank you. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Blumenfield. Without objection, well, actually, we need to call the roll on this, Mr. Mejia.
Sure, Mr. Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson as chairman.
Yes.
Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Councilmember Curran Price.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo.
Yes.
And Councilmember John Lee's absence. We have 4 members and the majority carries.
Excellent. Thank you. That moves us to item number 10.
Item 10.
Terry Kaufman, Messiah City Attorney's Office. I just wanted to clarify, going back to item 8, that the action of the committee was in denying the appeal, but also when the committee referenced the planning staff recommendation, which was adoption of the zone change ordinance, that you were including that as well. That was my understanding.
Yeah, I think it was our intent to make such an inclusion.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, that takes us to item number 10, Mr. Mejia.
Yes, item 10, Councilman. This is an appeal by Jeff Bornstein, and he's challenging the adequacy of the environmental clearance, the EIR, for this project situated in CD3 for the redevelopment of the existing Westfield Promenade Shopping Center and the construction of a mixed-use development project.
Excellent. We'll begin deliberation of this item with a report from Department of City Planning.
Good afternoon, Chair Harris Dawson and honorable committee members. My name is Elva Nuno O'Donnell, City Planning with Major Projects. The item before you is relative to a CEQA appeal filed on the Promenade 2035 Project Supplemental EIR. On July 17, 2019, the zoning administrator issued its determination approving a master conditional use of alcohol, a director's interpretation for the use of entertainment and sports center, and a project permit compliance with the Warner Center 2035 plan, as well as certifying the supplemental EIR for this project. Also in July of 2019, The Deputy Advisory Agency approved 3 vesting tentative track maps associated with the Promenade 2035 project. The actions of the zoning administrator and the Deputy Advisory Agency were subsequently appealed to the City Planning Commission. After months of negotiation with stakeholders and in order to address the appeal points raised by the appellants, the applicant submitted a modified project which included affordable housing, a reduction in the square footage and number of seats for the entertainment and sports center. There was no change to the proposed land uses, maximum number of residential units, and square footage of the project. The City Planning Commission considered the modified project at its May 28, 2020 meeting, which also served as a limited public hearing for the modified project. The City Planning Commission unanimously approved the modified project. No appeals were filed on any of the 3 track maps associated with this project. On August 19, 2020, the appellant filed a CEQA appeal on the Promenade 2035 supplemental EIR. Staff has responded in detail to the points raised by the appellant and his legal representative in the report submitted to this honorable body on November 12, 2020, and posted on the city's council file management system on the same date. As stated in the report, staff recommends the Plum Committee deny the CEQA appeal as the appellant has not presented any new substantial evidence that the city erred in its actions relative to the supplemental EIR, and no additional environmental review is warranted. Staff recommends this honorable body certify the Promenade 2035 project supplemental EIR has been completed in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act. The Promenade 2035 project supplemental EIR was presented to the City Council as a decision-making body of the lead agency, and the Promenade 2035 project supplemental EIR reflects the independent judgment and analysis of the lead agency. The committee adopted the related and prepared Promenade 2035 project environmental findings, the statement of overriding considerations, and the mitigation monitoring program prepared for the Promenade 2035 supplemental EIR, all as stated in the staff report. Thank you for your consideration. Staff is available for questions.
All right, now we'll hear from our appellant, Mr. Hall, or Jamie Hall, excuse me.
Jamie Hall, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Good afternoon. My name is Jamie Hall. I'm a land use and environmental attorney with Channel Law Group. I'm here today to speak on behalf of appellant Jeff Bornstein. I first want to restate the city is owed no deference with regard to procedural violations of the California Environmental Quality Act. As noted in Communities for a Better Environment versus City of Richmond, claims of improper procedure, including claims that an agency has failed to include the information required by CEQA in an EIR, are reviewed de novo, while only an agency's factual determinations are reviewed for substantial evidence. I only mention this because often cities are given the benefit of the doubt, and that's reflected in the substantial evidence standard of review. But here we've raised many procedural errors, and the city is owed no deference. This is going to be a legal question. One of the primary procedural errors was the use of a 562-page erratum, which was not circulated for public review or comment or sent to the state clearinghouse. This erratum was used to address a modified project, not just to analyze minor changes. The erratum also contained several important appendices, which included new information on off-site traffic noise, public health, and health risk. The health risk assessment that was conducted was defective in that it did not use the proper land use in its modeling, failed to include the required grading, and didn't account for demolition of structures. The health risk assessment also was not submitted to the South Coast Air Quality Management District for their review and comment. The project's modifications and the appendices attached to the erratum constitute substantial new information and should have been circulated for public and responsible agency review. Again, none of that happened. Additionally, an erratum is not even a document type found in CEQA. Again, the erratum was put forward by the city not to correct errors in the published text of the SEIR, but to analyze a new version of the project that was substantially different from the project and alternatives analyzed in the SEIR. A related error is the failure of the city to provide an accurate, stable, and finite project description. For a project to be stable, the environmental impact report must describe substantially the same project. It's not enough that the final approval shares some of the same characteristics with the original project. And the key issue, as noted in StopTheMillenniumHollywood.com versus the City of Los Angeles, is whether or not public participation has been thwarted and informed decision-making has been accomplished. And we would submit, because the erratum was not submitted and circulated, that those key goals of CEQA have not been accomplished. Also, I just want to highlight that we did hire an independent expert to review the air quality impacts of the project, and they concluded that they were significant. So we would respectfully request that you grant the appeal. Thank you.
All right, now we'll hear from our applicant.
Cindy Starrett, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Is now muted.
Hi, this is Cindy Starrett from Latham & Watkins on behalf of the Promenade 2035 project. Thank you for considering our response to this appeal. As staff indicated, there's been a tremendously thorough process here to achieve this transformation of an existing shopping center into a sustainable mixed-use project consistent with the vision of the Warner Center 2035 specific plan. In addition to our legal letter, Kim Brewer from URW submitted a letter to you describing the project and is here to speak in public comment. The City Planning Commission unanimously approved the project and certified the supplemental EIR after over 4 years of environmental review and public process. In fact, public participation and independent decision-making was absolutely achieved in this project. It is an exemplar of the city's process working exactly as CEQA intends it to do. As detailed in our written submittals, we agree completely with the staff that this appeal does not raise any issues or provide any substantial evidence to justify further analysis under CEQA. In addition to the supplemental EIR, the city had previously prepared a specific plan that had years of prior review with the specific plan EIR. The project is consistent with the specific plan, much smaller than the specific plan would allow. There are hundreds of stakeholders on record in support and eager for the project to proceed. The appellant's arguments that the modifications in response to the appeals, including his own appeal, did not have CEQA review should be rejected. The city routinely utilizes erratums to deal with any changes to projects, and in fact, modifying projects in response to appeals is part of how the process absolutely should work here. We added 10% subsidized housing as a voluntary measure, as requested by appellants and encouraged, and with the leadership of Councilmember Blumenfield. We reduced the size of the Entertainment and Sports Center, added major sustainability features, did all the things that CEQA encourages. The certified environmental review was consistent with the CEQA's process. The city released that in May of this year, months and months ago, weeks before the hearing, so the public could review and comment on it, including this appellant. It confirmed there were no new impacts or a substantial increase in the severity of any impact because the project's land uses and square footage and residential units did not increase. In fact, the size of the entertainment center was reduced, as were the heights of many residential buildings, to ensure the affordable housing could move forward. As noted in our letter, the applicant is not honoring the spirit of CEQA. They did not exhaust their administrative appeals. They filed this appeal on the last day with 1 page and then filled the record with supplemental letters nearly a month later, which the city has fully responded to. No basis has been provided for this appeal. We respectfully request that you deny it and adopt the staff recommendation for the record. We'd be happy to respond to any questions, and we urge you to let this project move forward.
Thank you. We have public comment on this item, so now is the time to press *9 and raise your hand, and you'll get called on by Ms. Binyam once she sees your hand for item number 10.
Caller with the number ending in 1644, can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank the committee for allowing us to speak today. My name is Bob Holden. I'm the general manager of the Woodland Hills Costco. I've been with Costco for 32 years. I've been running buildings with them for 30, and I was the opening manager at the Village Project, part of the Topanga Mall. I'd like to speak today on behalf of URW or Westfield, as well as the Promenade Project. Westfield's demonstrated, in my opinion, a community partnership with its business mentality. I've found that in the 6 years I've been with them, they have been not only good for business, but good for the community and good for the San Fernando Valley and specifically our community. I've enjoyed a very positive 6-year relationship with Westfield. It began back in 2014 when we first broke ground at the Village, and it's been one of the best business partnerships I've had the good fortune of enjoying over 30 years. Westfield, in my opinion, is very civic-minded in their business practices. Their eco-friendly green initiatives are well documented. It just speaks volumes about the partners they want to be in the community.
Thank you. That's your time. Caller with the number ending in 9412, can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself?
Good afternoon, Armando Flores with VICA. VICA fully supports the Westfield Promenade project as it will help elevate the economic vitality and stability of the San Fernando Valley and its residents at a time when it's desperately needed. With almost 2 million people, we deserve our own entertainment center instead of always having to drive to downtown or the West Side for events. Repurposing the old Promenade Mall into an innovative new green urban center is a smart idea that will generate thousands of new jobs for years to come and offer much-needed amenities in the Warner Center. Project's significant boost to the local economy and to city tax revenues that support public services will be critical to the future as we recover from the current health and economic crisis. Over 1,000 residential units is also a positive step that will help address the city's current housing crisis. We urge you to allow this important project to move forward. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 9264, can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself? Caller 9264, can you please press star 6? Caller with the number ending in 9832, can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself?
Good afternoon, honorable committee members. I'm Jackie Langa, a longtime resident in the West Hills, Woodland Hills neighborhood for over 30 years, as well as vice president of the Museum of the San Fernando Valley. On behalf of myself and the museum, we are still excited to continue to support the Westfield Promenade plans. Westfield has reached out to our community to listen to concerns and make adjustments to address them, and we appreciate their efforts. It speaks to their commitment to both the project and the area residents. I want to also say that this project is replete with forward-thinking values that can redefine what a mixed-use complex will be in the 21st century, and that is a project that will be well worth doing in these changing times. Also, as a number of you know, the museum has been talking with Westfield for over 2 years to become part of the cultural component of this project, and we are constantly seeking new and profound ways to share the San Fernando Valley story with students, residents, and visitors alike, and want to include a history, arts, and culture museum with an art and educational center into the community complex. I believe that this museum can fill a West Valley cultural and educational void.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Caller with the number ending in 8519, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Good afternoon. My name is DeAndre Valencia, the Chief Advocacy Officer for the Los Angeles County Business Federation, mainly known as BizFed. We are a grassroots alliance of more than 200 business organizations representing over 450,000 employers that employ over 4 million Angelinos. I'm pleased to offer our support for the Westville Promenade. The project will go a long way towards transforming the valley into an attractive downtown community, generating new residences, creative workspaces, public gathering areas, and more leisure and entertainment opportunities. We are pleased the project will create thousands of jobs, which will help bring back jobs lost during this pandemic. BizFed strongly supports this project, and we ask you to do the same. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 8244, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Yes, hi, this is Rick Gable with Adler Realty. We are a office building owner in Warner Center and the surrounding areas, and wanted to speak in support of the project. Westfield has spent a lot of time working with the community and getting their support and making compromises. The project's going to create jobs, tax revenues, and affordable housing. And I think the favorite part of the project in the area is the event arena. I think is really going to change Warner Center and will actually keep some traffic off the freeways as people in the valley won't have to go downtown for all their events. So we're in support of it, and thank you for your time.
Caller 7693, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hello, this is Christine Rowe. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I've submitted letters to each of the council members on this project. I'm one of the former appellants. I live in West Hills. During this time of COVID-19, this time of climate change, fires, we have to reevaluate this project. I support the environmental appeal that Jeff Bornstein, I'm not going to say I support it in its completeness, just the fact that we did need to appeal it. We need to readdress it. I absolutely oppose the stadium altogether. I think everybody looks at the Warner Center specific plan and I don't believe the Warner Center specific plan ever considered the public health and public safety aspects and the environmental aspects, including air quality, as I mentioned previously, climate change and fire, and now COVID-19. So I think that this project should be sent back and redesigned. We need hotels, we need affordable housing, and all types of housing, but we do not need a stadium. And right now they're having problems with renting office space. So redesign this so that it could benefit the community, even possibly add a hospital on this property.
Caller with the number ending in 8631, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? 8631.
This is Joanne D'Antonio. I'm a member of CSAC, and I'm chair of the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance Trees Committee. 90 of our public property trees and an additional 8 protected trees are being removed for this project. Why do you have the right to take those away from the public? No one who is paid by our public tax money is standing up for the retention of trees, not even urban forestry. Science tells us that mature trees are vital to the survival of our city. They cannot be immediately replaced. DWP just did a study of water usage in LA, and this data found that LA population is falling as well. Why are we building 1,432 units when our population is falling and we have met our RENA requirement? Shopping is moving online. There's already a very large shopping center at this location. Woodland Hills is the hottest community in Los Angeles. The air conditioning use there has resulted in power outages in the past. If you approve this item, you will be making a large contribution to heat island effect.
That's your time. Kim Brewer, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Is now muted.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Kim Brewer, Senior Vice President at Unibail Rodamco Westfield, the applicant for the Promenade 2035 project. You heard from our Land Use Council, Cindy Sterrett, so I will just add briefly that we are very proud of the more than 4-year process we have undertaken with the city and our community and neighbors. We have submitted a letter to you with some background on the approved project, which includes a voluntary commitment for affordable housing, as well as a reduced-size entertainment and sports center in response to community concerns. Westfield has been part of the Warner Center for decades. Since 2006, we've invested $1.5 billion into Topanga in the village with 350 businesses and over 9,000 local jobs. And with the Promenade's investment, we will more than double those figures. When completed, the project will result in over $1 billion of investments and create over 10,000 construction jobs and 9,700 full and part-time jobs. And it will generate more than $17 million in net new revenues to the city every year. We are here today with more than 2,000 community supporters and stakeholders. We ask you to please deny this appeal.
Caller with the number ending in 2417, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jared Langford, and I'm a representative for the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters and the lead representative for Carpenters Local 661 in the San Fernando Valley. It's projects like this one that should serve as the area standard or blueprint for all developers who seek to build in our communities. Projects such as the Westfield Promenade project will contribute to the health and wealth of our community and will also create economic prosperity among working people. At this time, it's more important than ever to create jobs, but not just jobs. We have to create mortgage-paying jobs to help boost our local economy, break the cycle of poverty, and insulate our community from labor brokers and the underground construction economy that is robbing our communities of the much-needed tax dollars. I stand in support with my members for this project, and we ask you to deny the appeal and move forward. Thank you.
Caller 1358, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Good afternoon. I'm Nora Ross, the the CEO of the Valley Cultural Foundation, and we're very excited about the Westfield Promenade project. We believe that this project will significantly benefit the area, and we're particularly excited about the company's proposal to create the outside sports venue, the entertainment sports venue, Westfield's venue would help support our commitment of promoting visual and performing arts by Valley-based artists, providing a cultural hub for our community, and enriching the lives of artists and others. This will go a long way in creating a rich artistic legacy for the San Fernando Valley. This would most definitely enhance the lives of the people who work, live, and enjoy leisure activities in the area. Thank you.
Caller 0229, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? 0229. Can you press *6?
Hello, my name is Jeff Bornstein. I live in Canoga Park. This project should not go forward as it is breaking the law under CEQA. On top of that, tax breaks for the rich. We need to prohibit any tax breaks or public subsidies for this French multinational corporation, which is breaking California law with this project, Promenade 2035. Westfield and the city are breaking California law under the California Environmental Quality Act. Westfield traffic study is old, antiquated, and irrelevant for 2020. Planning department comparisons of the stadium to the AMC Theater traffic-wise is incorrect and misguided. The traffic flows are extremely different. Those are just two of many of the examples of what Westfield and the city are doing, breaking the law under CEQA. This is just two examples of the inappropriate behavior the city and this French multinational corporation, which you will not prohibit tax breaks for, and they will get tax breaks in the future.
Thank you. That's your time.
Thank you so much.
Caller with the number ending in 8653. Can you please press star 6 to unmute? $86.53.
Hi, this is David Allison. I'm a commercial property owner of a property across the street from this project. We've been in the market for 30 plus years, calling to speak in favor of the project. I think it's great for the area. I think Westfield's done everything to go through the process properly and engage with the community, and I urge you to deny the appeal. I think it's a bad faith attempt to stall a project that should happen. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 2239. Can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself?
Thank you. Good afternoon. This is Sonia Blake, President and CEO of the Valley Economic Alliance. Our alliance enthusiastically supports the Promenade 2035 project. We are very excited about the thousands of jobs it will create, the affordable housing it will establish, and the entertainment and sports center, which will be a great attractor for folks to come in and support our local small business in the nearby community. We are thankful that it is consistent with the Warner Center specific plan, and we enthusiastically support. Westfield has been a great partner to the community, and we're very excited to see this come to pass as quickly as possible. We hope this appeal will be denied. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 9775. Can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself?
My name is Larry Green, and my family has been involved in shaping the Warner Center since the 1960s. Kim Brewer and the URW team are the right people at the right time and with the right vision for moving our community and the Warner Center forward. The Promenade 2035 vision has been shaped by this community. It represents the hope and aspirations of tens of thousands of people. Today, more than ever, we need this aspirational vision and we need this investment. I strongly encourage this esteemed body to act decisively and vote in support of the Promenade 2035 plan. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 7883. Can you please press star 6 to unmute?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Joellen with the Canoga Park West Hills Chamber of Commerce. And once again, we are happy to support the Westfield on this 2035 project. I know that all of my board members, all of my chamber members, and the community in whole are very excited about it. Future generations are definitely going to benefit from this project. But most importantly, Westfield has always been a community partner. They listened to our concerns in the project during the build. They modified some things. They accepted some things. And for the most part, they well-rounded to make sure that all of the community benefited, not just Westfield. So I'm happy to say that we look forward to this project going forward. And most importantly, during COVID, the jobs and the opportunities it's going to open up is going to be amazing. So thank you so much.
Caller with the number ending in 0642. Can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sean Mann. I'm a representative with the Carpenters Union. As you heard my colleague Jared Langford speak before, we ask and stand in support of this project, and we ask you guys to do the same. This project will not only create economic prosperity, but allow men and women of the area who live in that area to work in the area as well. And it's going to create jobs to come in the future, and we ask that you stand in support in this project as well. Thank you very much for your time.
Caller with the number ending in 4422. 4422.
Yeah, hi. My name's Adolf Navarro. I'm with Plumbers and Fitters Local 761. I've been in the area since 1959, and Topanga Mall has always been there for the community and putting a lot of my friends and families and people to work. Also, this is going to create over 10,000 construction jobs. We should put a lot of our journeymen and apprentices to work. And we are so happy to support this, and we're looking forward for this project to continue. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 7054. Can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself?
Good afternoon. I'm Diana Williams. I live and work in Woodland Hills. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the West Valley Warner Center Chamber of Commerce, calling to encourage denial of this appeal. As the CEO of the West Valley Warner Center Chamber of Commerce since 2008, I've been a part of the Warner Center 2035 specific plan process and active part of the Promenade project process. With hundreds of meetings and 2 public hearings, the community comments have been heard. Westfield has gone above and beyond what is required to consider these comments in the planning process. This appeal is stalling the progress of this project yet again. The public was given ample opportunity to review and comment on the modified project. The modified project is a direct result of the public's input, and the bottom line is it resulted in a smaller entertainment and sports center. The community has exhausted their opportunity for input. It is time to move forward. I encourage the Plum Committee to approve any and close any further consideration that impedes the progression of this project. Thank you very much.
Caller with the number ending in 5990. Can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself? (5990). Can you please press star 6?
Yeah, my name is Joshua Christensen. I am a union carpenter in the San Fernando Valley, and I'm urging you to not approve this appeal and to let the project go forward. Me and others would really love to work on this project, and we all are involved in state-approved apprenticeship programs, and getting paid a fair wage and having health care and benefits is really important right now with all the stuff that's going on with COVID. We need that in our lives, and this job is going to provide that. And we, again, let's push this project through, and looking forward to work on it. Thank you.
Number ending in 6335. Can you please press star 6 to unmute? 6335.
Hi, my name is Jason Samthudi. I'm one of the co-founders for Stargate Pest Defense.
I want to publicly acknowledge and thank Westfield for their eye-opening commitment to affordable housing within the Promenade project. I see firsthand the great range of economic security within our community, and we have to do better. All of us. Often, affordable and workforce housing commitments feel like an afterthought. 2 units here or there, or affordable housing that isn't even connected to the project. That isn't the case with Westfield. 5% of their housing will be classified as very low-income housing, and we should all be talking about this. Promenade is setting a new standard for our community, a standard which we should demand from all developers going forward. I'm appreciative that this project takes workforce housing into consideration as well. I'd like to see it approved, and I'd like to see this project become the benchmark for others moving forward. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 2778. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Good afternoon. My name is Sarah Golden. I'm speaking on behalf of the Warner Center Association, a voluntary association of business and property owners in Warner Center, speaking in support of the Promenade 2035 project. This project, which is consistent with the Warner Center 2035 plan, has the potential to be a catalyst for Warner Center, advancing it in its role as a designated regional center with much-needed housing, including restricted affordable housing, office uses, and regional serving amenities, including the Entertainment and Sports Center. The Entertainment and Sports Center will provide a much-needed, high-quality venue in the West Valley, right where it should be, in the downtown district of Warner Center. The WCA has proudly supported this project as it moved through a very comprehensive process with the community over more than 4 years, including a 92-day comment period on the draft EIR for the project. We are looking forward to seeing this important project come to fruition in Warner Center and urge you to deny this baseless appeal. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 8121, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mark Sterling. I own a company called World's Greatest Promotional Stuff. And I'm listening to all this stuff, which is very interesting. And I actually thought this whole thing was approved. I'm a little surprised it's not. I'm just representing not unions or political agendas. I'm a small businessman that's had a business in the Valley for 22 years. And, oh, my gosh, I think this is a great idea. This project that Westfield wants to do sounds phenomenal for people like me and everybody in the Valley and in Southern California. Somebody mentioned that it's hot and, really hot here. And, yeah, it is. It's hot in Woodland Hills and everywhere else here. But this would make the Valley a really hot, super place to be. Get tired of going on the other side of the hill to venues and stuff. And with the housing and everything else they're doing, Westfield is an amazing place. I'm involved in a bunch of Chamber of Commerces, and it's such a positive thing what Westfield does for our community. So I 100% as a small businessman back Westfield and what they're doing and making this a better community. Thank you so much.
Caller with the number ending in 8969. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hi. My name is Zenon Aliet Crow, and I'm calling from the nearby neighborhood. And so I just wanted to say that I'm in huge support of this project. In terms of going back to what I was saying before about the item number 9, in terms of climate change, there is no other option. Housing and land use are the biggest determinants to trying to solve and alleviate our climate crisis. And the only way we're ever going to get close to meeting our climate goals is if we build denser and is if we work on making our urban areas less reliant on cars, more reliant on public transit and transportation. And that comes with densification. And so I really want to say I also really applaud the affordable housing component that has been added to this because, as we all know, we're in a housing crisis. So it shows this project is definitely providing housing for all income levels. So that's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Caller with the number ending in 2532. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Good afternoon. My name is Patricia Bruno, and I'm calling on behalf of the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce, which represents over 1,400 member companies. The Los Angeles Chamber of Commerce strongly supports the construction of Westfield Promenade, including the entertainment and sports center. The Valley is ready for its own downtown destination area, and the option to allow the open roof. That means there will be an opportunity for minor league baseball. We urge you to support the project and give Westfield the opportunity to move forward with this major investment for the Valley. This is completely consistent with the specific plan that took over 8 years to adopt, and with broad community support. It's in line with our mixed-use, transit-oriented goals as the city and state work to reduce traffic congestion and improve air quality. Please approve the project today and send the signal that investment in compliance with plans will be supported by the City of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 9264, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
This is John Walker, the president of Woodland Hills Homeowners Organization. I want you to be aware that the extensive and comprehensive EIR provided a framework for us to work with Westfield to provide for some resolution of issues that were plaguing the community. We want to specifically thank Bob Blumenfeld, too, for his work with getting the affordable housing, low income, and the workforce housing implemented in the modified plan. Westfield, as you know, has been long-standing and has worked hard in this community for a number of years. While we disagree with a number of their issues, nonetheless, they have worked hard with us to resolve those particular issues. We thank them for that. We stand in support of this project and hope that you will deny the appeals, but approve the project as modified. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 9264, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? Can you please press *6 to unmute if your number ends in 9? Oh, you got it.
This is John Walker again. I think I've been asked twice now to speak. I'll be happy to do so.
Oh, sorry, my mistake.
No worries.
Caller with the number ending in 0203.
Hi, thank you. This is David Wheatley, and I'd like to say a couple things about this. I think if this were a math class, it would say public equals CEQA. Fresh air, fresh everything, the protection of the environment is the same as the protection of the public. I think it would be really nice if someday the trade unions could actually express some sort of interest or concern about the community and not just focus on their own jobs. And the same with the chambers of commerce. If they could say even something nice about the protection of the community, I think that would go a long way toward make it not just seem like a money grab for all of them. Thank you very much.
Caller with the number ending in 7006, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? Caller with the number ending in 7006, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Yes, I would support
Caller with the number ending in 4064.
Hello, how you doing today? My name is Jason Green. I'm a union carpenter representative. I'm also a constituent of Woodland Hills, live in the area. I would hope that the board would deny the approval and go on with this project. This project will likely help out a lot of people in their careers, allow skilled and trained workforce to complete the project, and those tax dollars go back into the community. Again, hope this project goes through. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 3549. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hi, Council. Thank you for your time. I'm a proud union member of Local 761 Plumbers and Pipe Fitters. I'm also a resident in the footprint of the Promenade Project. Approval of the Westfield Promenade Project sends a strong message that Los Angeles may be hurting right now, but we will rebuild and come back strong. This project represents a $1 billion investment in our future and will create more than 19,000 jobs. That's correct, 19,000 jobs. We need this. They follow the rules, work with the community, and are a longtime member in the community. We need this project, and we need to send a message to our other longtime business in the city to invest and start planning for our recovery. Let's send a hopeful message to every worker out there that this is a temporary setback, and the great city, Los Angeles, will come back strong. Thank you for your time, Council. Luis Porras, Business Agent Local 761.
That exhausts the speakers for this particular item.
All right. Thank you to all the public members of the public that called in on this. We know this is a very important project for our city, very important project for the San Fernando Valley. So we'll begin our deliberation of this item by hearing from Mr. Blumenfield.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Wow. So many amazing callers on this one. I know some of my colleagues, you might have gotten frustrated by so many callers, but for me, it was great hearing so many people that I know and work with on a regular basis, all calling in, most of whom, almost every one of them in support of this project. And to the two folks who didn't, Mr. Bornstein and Chris Rowe, I have great respect for both of you, although I do disagree with you on this. I think that that we have to deny this appeal. We have been through this process extensively, EIR, supplemental EIR, and this, as you heard from so many callers from our homeowners association to Jared and Josh from the Carpenters to our chambers to all sorts of folks calling in. This is a really important project for the community and for not just for my district, but really it's regional. It is going to be transformative in many very, very positive ways. So I'm proud to support this project. And I also, want to emphasize, not only are they doing the jobs right, not only are they creating some open space and appropriately so, and it's following the Warner Center plan, which is the cleanest and greenest plan in the city, but it's the first project in the Warner Center to include affordable units. And I pushed hard on that, and I was really pleased that they took this on. It's going to establish a standard for future projects in the Warner Center to provide housing for folks at every income level. They heard the call. The project includes 5% very low income per the density bonus, a voluntary 5% workforce housing, and then a 5% stakeholder housing, which is sort of a new concept of making sure that folks in the immediate area have access to the housing, because the Warner Center is all about live, work, play. That's the concept. Some of the callers talked about this is the future for climate change, to try to create live, work, play environments. And this project helps bring to life the vision of the Warner Center as a live, work, play environment. And having the entertainment center is the icing on the cake that will really make not only this this project shine, but really will help the region and help the Warner Center become that live, work, play environment that it has been the goal to be, and that the community as a whole really wants to see it. So I'm very proud to support the project and urge a denial of the appeal. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Blumenfield, and congratulations on another step in this big journey to make this a reality in the West San Fernando Valley. Do we have comments from any other members of the committee? I do not see any. So you put a motion to deny the appeal, Mr. Blumenfield?
Correct.
Excellent. And so I'll second that motion. If you could read the specific instructions into the record, Mr. Mejia, and then call the roll.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The instruction being deny the appeal filed by Jeff Bornstein and thereby sustain the determination of the Planning Commission recommending certification of the Promenade 2035 project final supplemental EIR and adopting the CEQA findings, the statement of overriding considerations, and the mitigated monitoring program for the proposed redevelopment of the Westfield Shopping Center and the construction of a mixed-use development for the property located at 6100 North Topanga Canyon Boulevard, 21800 through 21900 West Irwin Street, 21801, 21821, 21901, and 21931 West Oxnard Street, and 6101 North Owensmouth Avenue in CD3.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. Can you?
Terry Kaufman, Mesilla City Attorney's Office. I just want to make sure that the on the environmental, that it's including everything that's listed on the agenda, which I don't know if it's collectively now referred to as the Promenade 2035 Project Supplemental EIR. So there's a draft supplemental that's dated April 26, 2018, the final supplemental EIR dated April 5th, the erratum dated May 2020, and then I think I heard Mr. Mejia refer to the Statement of Overriding Consideration Mitigation Monitoring Program and related CEQA findings. So that should all be included.
Thank you for that, and that'll be included. And if we could call the roll, Mr. Mejia.
Yes, Council Member Harris Dawson as chair.
Yes.
Council Member Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Council Member Curran Price. Council Member Gilbert Cedillo.
Cedillo, aye.
Council Member John Lee absent. We got 3 members, and it carries, Council.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who called in on that item. Listen, we've got in excess, we've got several dozen callers still on the line waiting for one of our items. In the interest of time, as this meeting has become an affair in excess of 3 hours, I'm going to ask my committee members if they are amenable to continuing item number 11 until December 8th. If there's no objection, that'll be the order. And then we will move to item number 12. And item number 12, again, we have dozens of callers on the queue, so we will hold 30 minutes for public comment. So we'll ask people to try to speak quickly on this item. But if we could, again, read this item into the record and begin with our report from the city. Mr. Mejia.
Yes, item 12, council members. This is a proposed ordinance by the Planning Commission. It seeks to create a restaurant beverage program, an administrative process for on-site consumption of alcohol incidental to a restaurant, subject to eligibility criteria, performance standards, and enforcement procedures.
All right. Department of City Planning.
Yuhagu Solomon Carey for the record from Department of City Planning, here to provide a brief overview of the Restaurant Beverage Program, otherwise known as RBP. The ordinance would create an administrative review process for qualifying sit-down restaurants to serve alcoholic beverages without obtaining a conditional use permit or a CUP. The proposed ordinance is in response to a council motion introduced in 2017, which called for the creation of an administrative process for approval of on-site alcohol sales, which would be at the fraction of the time and cost of a traditional CUP. For your reference, a discretionary CUP can take upwards of 6 months and cost approximately $12,500. It is estimated that an approval under the proposed RBP would cost less than $2,000 and take approximately 4 weeks. At present, the RBP ordinance would build on the city's effort to provide relief to bona fide restaurants facing economic hardship, particularly in the wake of COVID-19. The value of the program is in the certainty it provides to businesses, both by the cost and time savings, particularly for smaller restaurants, while still requiring them to comply with set standards and meet and exceed the conditions of approval typically applied to restaurants during a discretionary process. Selective eligibility criteria, strict performance standards, and new enforcement procedures would limit adverse use-related impacts associated with alcohol sales. In fact, many of the conditions of approval typically applied to a CUB have been standardized and included in the requirements in addition to other criteria, resulting in over 50 standards with which a restaurant must comply. It should be noted that bars, nightclubs, entertainment venues, liquor stores, and alcohol retailers would not be eligible for the program. Now, that said, concerns over equity have been raised and continue to be raised regarding the streamlining of alcohol permits, particularly as it impacts communities that have a legacy of alcohol justice issues. A part of this concern is related to enforcement over time. As currently envisioned, eligible businesses will enroll in the Monitoring, Verification, and Inspection Program, also known as MVIP. And for background, MVIP started in 2015 and requires every establishment that obtains a CUP for alcohol beverages to enroll in that program. The goal of MVIP is to ensure compliance of conditions and to proactively monitor the approved use. The ordinance as proposed would extend MVIP to RBP, resulting in 2 unannounced inspections within 3 years. Further, on enforcement, if a restaurant receives 3 violations in a 2-year time period, they would be suspended from the program for 5 years and must obtain a CUP to serve alcohol during that time. With that, and for any additional questions on MVIP enforcement or ordinance regulations, we have several staff on the call who will be able to answer any questions. And I'll conclude my presentation there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Solomon Carey. To begin our deliberation on this matter, we're very honored to be joined by Mr. Paul Kokorian, who's championed this issue for now 3 years. I want to give him the gold star for that one. I think a lot of restaurants might have been able to get a license the regular way, as long as it's taken us to get this project, get this initiative done. But I want to turn the floor over to him and hear both comments and any questions that he might have.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for scheduling this matter, and thank you for your comments. And you're certainly right. In those 3 years, there have probably been restaurants that have opened and gone out of business already within that time. And the timing for hearing this matter could not be better, could not be more important. As we all know, our small business community throughout Los Angeles has been decimated by COVID-19, and no industry has been hurt worse than the hospitality industry. And in neighborhoods throughout Los Angeles, the independent small business restaurants that so often define the character of a community, of a business community in particular, so often create the kind of ambiance that makes a neighborhood a destination and that helps other surrounding businesses to flourish. So many of those businesses are simply, closing at a rapid pace because they can't afford now, with the various provisions that we have in place, to remain open. So we've bent over backwards to try to find ways to keep this industry alive throughout COVID, because we know what an important part of the fabric of our city restaurants are. So as we go through the phase of having our economy recover and reopen in the post-COVID era, it's going to be especially important that people who are interested in investing in a restaurant, in a community, have every opportunity to make that restaurant a success, and that we expedite and make less expensive the process of getting restaurants up and running. Now, as was stated in the staff report, and I think it very much bears repeating, because the folks who have been actively involved in this issue have expressed very real concerns about alcohol saturation and people who try to skirt the rules and people who try to get around things and find loopholes. So let me just say this again. This only applies to sit-down restaurants. It does not apply to nightclubs. It does not apply to bars. It does not apply to grocery stores that sell alcohol. It does not apply to anything other than restaurants that sell alcohol as a part of their food service that has to be taking place at all hours. There is an enforcement mechanism built into this program. So for those, and Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you for your engagement in this issue throughout, and we've had many discussions in which you have pointed out examples of similar sorts of ordinances where people have used loopholes to try to create an opportunity to sell alcohol in ways that were not intended. And I appreciate you raising those examples. That's why this enforcement mechanism built into the program is so important. And I want to reiterate that these conditions that would need to be accepted by participants in this program are stricter than those that are achieved by the vast majority of conditional use permits right now. So while we're expediting it in terms of time and we're making it less expensive in terms of dollars, the resulting conditions under this program will be more strict and more protective of neighborhoods than the typical conditional use permit that's granted today. So we get better neighborhood protection with less cost and less time and more opportunity for good businesses to thrive. So I think it really turns out to be a win-win for everyone. And I will make one final point, and that is, as we're going through the budget crisis that the city is now facing, the need to generate additional revenues that will pay for basic neighborhood services that this city is expected by its constituents to provide makes all the more urgent our need to encourage businesses that create sales tax revenues and other kinds of revenues easier for them to get up and running. But also, the other side of the budget crisis is that we are cutting back significantly on city personnel. And the planning department inevitably will be faced with those kinds of cutbacks as well. So what is already a slow process in getting conditional use permits approved will become a much longer process just because of personnel cutbacks, which means more and more businesses will die on the vine while they're waiting to get their CUPs approved. More and more entrepreneurs and investors will rent a place hoping to be able to make a go of it with their life savings. And then as they wait for 18 months or 2 years to get a CUP in place, they will not be able to survive. So that's why this program is so important to our economy, so important to jobs creation, so important to the city's budget, and so important to protect the interests of neighborhoods by imposing the strict conditions that this program provides. So with that, I thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members, I respectfully ask for your aye vote so that after 3 years of work, we can move this program forward to the council and get it in place and get the benefits that it's going to bring. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Krikorian, and thank you for your leadership on this very, very important issue. As you can imagine, it has attracted a lot of attention. We literally have dozens of callers on the line to comment on this. We're going to limit comment to 30 minutes on this item. And so now is the time to raise your hand by pressing *9. And Ms. Binyam will bring you into the meeting according to a queue. But again, we will end public comment at 1:50 this afternoon. Ms. Binyam.
Right. First caller up is on a private number. So if you raised your hand to speak on this item and you have a private number, please press *6 to unmute. Okay.
You got a promotion, Mr. Cedillo, from mayor to governor.
I appreciate that.
Caller with the number ending in 8443. Can you please press *6 to unmute? #8443. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? Okay. Caller 0075, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Hi, my name is Sandra Cordero, and I'm the chef and owner of Gasolina Cafe in Woodland Hills. I'm just calling to support this and I just want to urge your colleagues to push this through the Job Creation Committee and the full board City Council with haste. Restaurants are just closing small independent restaurants are just closing every day, and something like this could really help us. I started applying personally for a conditional use permit and ABC just to serve sangria with paella or a mimosa with brunch, and it's taken over a year, and I spent over $30,000 so far. So I just really hope we can get this through without any patio restrictions and minimum seat requirements, so we can really get this ordinance supporting small independent restaurants that make up, the life of neighborhoods. Thank you very much.
Caller with the number ending in 7521, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Good afternoon. I'm Sarah Blanche, representing the Los Angeles Drug and Alcohol Policy Alliance. Nearly 1 in 3 census tracts in LA has 3 times the maximum density of alcohol businesses recommended by the California Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control. They put these standards in place to protect public health and safety. The restaurant beverage program will flood LA neighborhoods undoubtedly with more businesses selling alcohol. No one's saying small businesses shouldn't be helped, but right now, community safety and livability isn't considered in this ordinance. For months and months, dozens of community members have testified that this ordinance needs to include better protections for our neighborhoods, especially because there's no public input. These conditions are no happy hours, no drink specials, no pitchers of beer, reasonable measures that ensure this new flood of businesses don't encourage excessive drinking and add to alcohol-related community problems. This input hasn't been heard, hasn't been incorporated. For these reasons, we at LADAPA oppose this ordinance and ask you to vote no until reasonable conditions are incorporated around how alcohol is sold and served. Communities' health, safety, and well-being, not just business interests, have to be considered if we're going to make such a fundamental change to the alcohol permitting process in LA. Thank you.
That's your time. Caller with the number ending in 4663, can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect, thanks. My name is Hunter Hall. I am a Business Improvement District Executive Director and Restaurant Consultant. I'm also a California Restaurant Association board member and founding board member of the Independent Hospitality Coalition in LA County. I'd like to echo everything basically that Mr. Krikorian said earlier. Perfect. Thank you very much, Mr. Krikorian, for your leadership on this. Truly appreciated. We really need this to pass, everybody. I know you know that. My specialty from 2008 to 2012 was bankruptcy and insolvency for independent restaurants, and my phone's ringing off the hook already. So that should be incredibly alarming to everybody. It's critical just to simplify this lengthy and expensive process. We really got to get it going. The RBP is perfect. 2 modifications I'd love to respectfully request. Please remove the minimum 20-seat requirement. There's a lot of interesting concepts coming out now that are less than that, like sushi bars, high-end dining, tasting menu places, things like that are not bars. So please do that. And also, you got to remove the limit on outdoor seating. Now more than ever with COVID and forever into the future, outdoor seating is a super premium, and there's a lot of requests for more patio space. So that just doesn't make sense with the climate that we're in. And the RBP should also include full liquor that would enable existing restaurants that wish to expand the premise or remodel their interior wouldn't have to spend $15,000 and wait for years. That's it. Thank you so much for all your hard work on this. We really appreciate it.
Caller with the number ending in 1621. Can you please press star 6 to unmute?
Good afternoon, Charles Porter with United Coalition East and Skid Row, a community threatened by the overconcentration of hundreds of adjacent alcohol uses and great excess of state limits. We have decades of experience addressing alcohol concerns, and on behalf of concerned community coalition members, we oppose the RBP as currently written, particularly during this pandemic. Expediting alcohol access is not a priority. It is a public health threat. In light of increased drinking rates, compounded by new rules allowing restaurants to deliver and sell alcohol to go. We need community input, accountability, over-concentration protections, and strong enforcement tools. We have submitted a letter alongside COCO in South LA and recently met with CD14 and 8 staff to share our concerns and recommendations. We encourage responsible economic development and community-owned businesses, but we ask that you rethink your approach and sense of urgency to ensure that this program is responsive to the diverse needs of our communities in LA. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 0460.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi there, my name is Chris Yenbemrung. I'm the chef and owner of Night Market Restaurants. I have 3 locations, Venice, West Hollywood, and Silver Lake. I'm calling to support the ordinance that would create the RBP. We've known for years, for as long as I've been doing it, about a decade and a half, that obtaining licensing permits is just one of the most costly and time-consuming things. And restaurants, independent restaurants like we're talking about here, are already running on such tight margins. And to echo Mr. Krikorian, these independent restaurants like ours and some of our colleagues are the places that really attract people to LA and give it some of this, local flavor and national notoriety. So to make it even tougher is just, I think it's crazy. And facing, the difficulties that we have in 2020, which I don't have to go into, it's nearly impossible to move forward for some places. Some of our most successful colleagues have had to close down. So I think that, even pre-2020, this is one of the most urgent issues. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 1474. Can you please press star 6 to unmute?
Good afternoon, Michael Shilstone with the Central City Association. We're strongly supportive of the restaurant beverage program.
New process would significantly reduce the cost and time required to open new restaurants while still ensuring businesses meet strict regulations and operate as good neighbors in our communities. We believe our best planning happens when we establish standards and expectations up front so that operators can count on a fair, objective process and know that if they play by the rules, they'll be able to move forward. Even before the pandemic, too many potential small businesses were deterred from opening new restaurants because of the risk and costs created by our discretionary process. This idea was put forth 3 years ago and is needed now more than ever amid challenging economic conditions. It's a smart reform and welcome relief for our most impacted industry. We urge you to move this forward. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 5046. Can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself? 5046.
Good afternoon. This is Daniel Skolnick, Planning Deputy to Councilmember Paul Koretz. I want to thank Mr. Corian for this motion, and also for staff for developing this ordinance. I want to also make it clear that this this program will be useful for all geographies. There are some stakeholders who are concerned that it may not be utilized in specific plans, and I would like staff to provide clarification that yes, the program will also take effect in specific plans such as the Ventura Boulevard specific plan and the Westwood specific plan. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 7666. Can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Honorable members, my name is Eddie Navarrete, Vice President of the Independent Hospitality Coalition, representing over 450 independent restaurant owners, workers in LA County. Our industry has been crushed by coronavirus closures. Most of us can't afford to quarantine. Our service workers are terrified of their front lines. Each day they leave a shift if they've contracted the virus. We can't work from home. We can't afford insurance. We know the cities like us are hoping, hanging on a thread for funding from our federal government, and there's nothing the city can do for us. We don't qualify for your grants, and you can't pay our rent. But you can do this for us. You can pass the RBT with our modifications here to help small businesses. Allow us to create local jobs and rebuild our communities. Members, we request maintain full liquor so the ordinance can be used to help existing restaurants needing to make changes to their operations without having it to go through a year process. Remove the minimum amount of 20 seats you need to have to qualify. Remove the patio restrictions so you can have 30% of your interior dining. Cities like Beverly Hills, Santa Monica, and Burbank already have by right or streamlined approval or inclusions of full liquor with no restrictions on minimum number of seats or patios that have had no relative issues. We believe these restrictions are missing their targets. Last, we need help now, not in a year, not in 6 months. Please push this forward today. Thank you, honorable members.
Caller with the number ending in 1026. Can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself?
Hi there. My name is Zach Fishman. I own Prime Pizza. We have 3 locations here in Los Angeles, Burbank, and downtown LA. I'm calling to strongly support this measure. Many people have already made great points, so I'll limit mine to a couple. I would strongly encourage you to include outdoor seating in this measure. That is going to be our new normal for people coming and eating with us. Also, please, I encourage you to include full liquor in this for the reasons that Eddie before me just mentioned. I would also like to point out that the only thing that having these current restrictions in place does is make it harder for people without resources or little resources to pursue their dreams and open up a small business. I've done this process twice now, and in both times it has taken me well over 6 months. 6 months, it doesn't even begin to describe it, and many, many dollars to get the CUP passed. And that just creates a huge restriction for people with very little money and time to open restaurants. Thank you so much.
Caller with the number ending in 7618.
Yeah, hi there. My name is Jessica Coslow, and I'm the owner of an almost decade-old restaurant located in the 13th District. I'm calling to voice my support for the proposed ordinance that would create the RBP. I'm here to say that I've experienced it all. For 2 years, I attempted to open a restaurant in the Sawtell area with a partner who spent over $200,000 on costs associated with the CUP process. This ultimately was the primary factor in the project not moving forward. I also opened a restaurant in Santa Monica backed by a national bank where it took almost a decade to come to fruition, and when we opened, we functioned with a temporary alcohol license. And so when it comes to my own restaurant, where I'm the sole founder, and operator, it comes as no surprise that going through the CUP process has always felt unaffordable and out of reach. And now more than ever, I see it as being necessary to create jobs, help the city with greater sales tax, and to save restaurants like mine that have been functioning on the slim margins of food alone and without the added economics of alcohol sales that ultimately are a key component to sustaining restaurants. Any way the city can simplify the permitting process and help small businesses attempt to survive the pandemic is also supporting the economic vitality of the city. I hope you will consider establishing the RBP. Thank you very much.
Caller with the number ending in 7618. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
That's me again.
Sorry. Caller 7667. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? Please. Caller with the number ending in 1544. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me? Thank you. Hello, my name is James Shaw. I'm speaking in support for the approval of this incredibly well thought out restaurant and beverage program. I'm a longtime Arts District community member and sit on the local neighborhood council, the RABA, the LA River and Business Association. I've been developing a restaurant in Arts District over the past year, and it has simply been too costly for us to simultaneously apply and pay for an alcohol permit. Without this program, I'm just not sure we will ever get a full line of alcohol, which would not only serve our clientele and menu, but our bottom line and possibly allow us to survive this pandemic. I hope you'll approve this program for a full line of alcohol with no limits on outdoor seating. Thank you so much.
Caller with the number ending in 0286. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hi, my name is Nadine, and I'm speaking in support of the restaurant beverage program. I have a multi-use community space in Arts District. We were about to expand with a cafe and a healing center before COVID hit, and is out in food, but as a small family business, we have previously been halted by the high cost and long process of getting the CUP. Now with the pandemic, we're greatly struggling, and it seems impossible. Alcohol isn't our focus, but is one of the only ways we can recover from the devastation of the circumstances. The RBP gives us a strong chance of saving our business so we can continue to serve the community and support initiatives like feeding the homeless and working on programs for underprivileged children. Also, being able to turn our parking lot into outdoor dining is essential. Thank you so much for considering. This initiative would make a world of difference for my family, our employees, and most importantly, our community.
Caller with the number ending in 3519. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hey, this is James Starr. I'm the co-owner of multiple restaurants in CD5. Thank you so much. I'm calling in support of the RBP. We need the RBP to include full liquor, enabling existing restaurants that wish to expand their premise or remodel their interior floor plan without being subjected up to $30,000 and years wait of time. The RBP helps businesses who need it most, the small restaurant businesses that can't afford a CUB and an expediter. But thank you very much to Fast Eddie, who has helped us get through this process many times. The CUP for full alcohol in conjunction with the restaurant shouldn't cost $15,000. We need to simplify the permitting process for restaurants. It shouldn't take up to 2 years to get planning authorization for an alcohol license. The 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. hours limitations mitigates misuse of restaurants operating as nightclubs. This ordinance does not apply to liquor stores. Cities like Santa Monica, Burbank, and Beverly Hills already allow template approvals for restaurants who wish to serve alcohol. LA needs to be a part of a more friendly small business economy. Each restaurant employs a minimum of 30 to 50 employees, from dishwashers to baristas.
Thank you. That's your time.
Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 8147. Can you please press *6 to unmute? Caller 8147.
Council members, my name is Steve Sand, calling from Westwood. We keep hearing about saving costs for individual operators, and that's wonderful, but I've heard almost no discussion of the cost, the public health cost on communities. When you have folks calling in from Skid Row, and particularly communities of color, when you have groups from Alcohol Justice telling you that this is just running roughshod over the concerns of those communities, this should be a giant red flag that there's more work that needs to be done here. I have personally participated in the 3 years of meetings, and I regret to say that despite numerous meetings with planning staff, they basically smiled and nodded their heads and just ignored valid input from communities. This is alcohol saturation. This is alcohol with no limit in a community. This is akin to, at Halloween time, putting out a candy dish and saying, oh, do you want alcohol? Just reach in and grab it. There literally is no limit. And in your council districts, it doesn't say whether there's 10, 20, 30, 300, 500 more places that will be selling alcohol. It is alcohol with no limit. We asked for this to be rolled out with beer and wine initially. That was rebuffed. We asked for you to roll this out in certain council districts to test it, just like you do with signage districts, and that was ignored. I urge you to send this back to planning and to reject the proposal as it is before you today. Thank you.
There are no benefits. He's a child. Caller with the number ending in 2740.
This is Margaret Taylor of Apex LA. I am calling in support of the item. I support the Councilman Krikorian's substantial work that has gone into the case, and I also support that he does correctly identify the only increased impacts resulting from COVID-19. The Melrose Business Improvement District has submitted a letter of support into the file as well, showing it as a significant item for viability, and vacancies that they anticipate. We also want to affirm that this should also apply in areas with specific plans so that tenants can go into those critical specific plan areas without them experiencing long economic downturn. There has not been a substantial impact from full service restaurants selling alcohol, and many lenders now require this in order to even fund the opening of a restaurant. So making it more costly or difficult for restaurants to obtain these necessary components to the operation that help them stay viable is an important element, and there are substantial and actually increased protections to the community and enforcement opportunities by the city. So it provides both protections for the community and viability for businesses, and we support the application and for this item. Thank you so much.
Caller with the number ending in 7006. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Debbie Kim for City Council!
He has so many numbers. He must have like 3 phones.
Caller with the number ending in 0358.
My name is Dina. I live in Boyle Heights, work for Social Model Recovery Systems, and a strong coalition of over 50 members. I want to thank CD8 and CD14 for meeting with us to discuss this urgent matter. Unfortunately, this administrative process is still going to hurt communities that are already struggling. Increasing access to alcohol to stimulate the economy or reduce burden is flawed because it will create a flood of businesses that will not have the interest of the communities. Communities of color will suffer because non-minority opportunistic owners are the ones that will benefit from this process, and they often operate in a predatory manner in communities of colors where alcohol is not incidental. Once they get the permit, they don't care if they are sit down, the rules go out the door. If you approve this, it is imperative that minorities are given priority to this opportunity, and you set a cap on the numbers allowed to ensure that it is not abused and hurt the public. The alleged incidental drinking is leading to binge drinking and DUIs. Therefore, the community urges you not to support this policy without the protections needed. Look at who's supporting this. It's those who want to expand. It's not the minority people who really need the help. It's the people that already have established businesses who want to grow and just take advantage. Thank you. I'm mad.
She said I'm mad.
Caller with the number ending in 5223. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hey, my name is Nina Ray, and I'm a development consultant for a lot of high-end restaurants and have been doing CUPs in LA for over 25 years. So I really support this ordinance that would really, really help us streamline and get more businesses. There are a lot of people that do want to come in LA, but looking at the timeline, just don't do the project. So this would really, really help get more businesses in the city of LA. Hello?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Caller with the number ending in 2183.
And you'll be our last caller.
Can you please press *6 to unmute?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. My name is Karen Hatfield, and I own the Sycamore Kitchen on La Brea. Been here almost 10 years, and I strongly support the restaurant beverage program. The current system is very flawed and has been for too long. Fair guidelines must be laid out in black and white, as they have been, and then once met, should be attainable. This affects mostly small business owners like me. I can't pay $20,000 plus and wait 1 to 2 years without any guarantee of approvals just to be able to serve mimosas at brunch. Small family-owned restaurants like mine need this now more than ever. Thank you.
All right, thank you to everybody who's called in. My apologies for everybody who did not get to speak. We know we had so many people on the queue, but we would lose quorum and not be able to vote on this if we went much longer. I will first extend the opportunity to Ms. Solomon Carey if she wants to address anything that came up in public comment. If not, that's fine too, but I wanted to give that opportunity.
I did want to respond, Hagu Salman Carey for the record from planning. I did want to respond to Council District 5, Daniel Skolnick's question regarding specific plans, as it came up for several speakers. In response, the ordinance as it's currently drafted is silent on specific plans, and typically when that happens, the plan itself, if referenced a CUP, would thereby be required and not be eligible for RBP program.
Got it. Thank you. Any questions or comments from members on this item? All right. Seeing none, I want to recommend that we move forward with this. I would just make a comment to both the business owners and the advocates. This has been, I think, a very healthy discussion up until this point. I expect it to continue. As someone who represents a neighborhood where the laws have been exploited to create very problematic over-concentrations of alcohol, I appreciate the testimony of the advocates. On the other hand, as a representative of a council district where there is a bit of investment apartheid, where investors are not likely to, as likely to invest as they are in other places, I've also been on the other side and seen the encumbrances and the difficulties to get a viable business going because of how long the process takes. And I would offer this to that discussion, or between that divide. The barriers that we have in place are not designed to make it more expensive. They're not designed to make it take a long time. They're not even designed to make it harder to get. They're designed to make sure we get the right people, people who are going to be responsible, and businesses that will operate responsible in our communities, and folks that really have the community's best interest at heart. I still believe that that doesn't have to take a long time, and it doesn't have to be super expensive, and it doesn't have to be so illusory. And so I think this motion tries to get at that. I imagine that there's still more work to be done, but I think this is a good step in the direction of closing that gap. Again, protecting communities, but also creating a smoother path for those who want to venture out into business. So, Mr. Mejia, Mr. Cedillo, looks like you've been inspired to share your wisdom with us on this matter.
I will share the input from my district, from small ethnic merchants, restaurants, people who have degrees of success but have been challenged and look forward to this. One note, post-COVID, is that we're going to have more outside dining. That will change the nature, structure of dining in our city in the future, and I think that's a good thing. We see this around the country. We see it in New York, et cetera, and we may become like Latin America, like Europe, where we have a lot more dining outside. So I know that there's a restriction in terms of 30%. Is that still in the proposal?
Yes.
I think we should look at that in terms of lifting that and having more flexibility on that, and maybe that's a matter of discretion for the local council member in the area. So maybe it's a discretionary matter. And then the other is there's something about LA that's really attractive, and that is the very small little restaurants and cafes. And I know that we have a 20-seat minimum, but I've been to numerous small restaurants, sushi bars, little ethnic cafes where it's much smaller. And so the 20-seat minimum, again, I think should be flexible or maybe discretionary for the local council member, because that would accommodate. And we've got great people. Joseph Centennial won Restaurant of the Year when COVID hit. That was the time. And then 2 of his restaurants had to close. And I think we need to be sensitive to us coming out of this pandemic, the economic impact it's had on us, and be a little more flexible in these areas. I'm sensitive to all the challenges in terms of substance abuse and alcohol abuse, but I think that our leadership, our guidance, and the relationship between the councilman and his neighborhoods is probably should be the most significant factor in this policy. So I ask those who are going to do the report to take note of that, and maybe we have that just flexible element of this proposal.
Thank you for that, Mr. Cedillo. Mr. Blumenfield, anything on this?
I have a bunch of things to say, and I think it's great, but I'm really short on the time, so I'm just going to keep my mouth closed.
All right. So we've got a set of recommendations before us, Mr. Mejia. If you could read those into the record, we'll move forward. This will come back up in the Ad Hoc Jobs Committee, so there'll be another opportunity to opine and comment and even change it. So let's try to move today, Mr. Mejia. If you could read the instructions in that motion.
Yes. I will begin. The directive is to request the city attorney with the assistance of the planning department to prepare and present an ordinance with the following amendments. Establish an opt-in process for council offices to designate geographies in their district, including by council district boundaries, community plan area, and or specific boundaries as provided through resolution. Changes to geographic boundaries should be via council resolution and therefore not require an amendment to the entire ordinance. Additionally, allow council offices to establish an alcohol sensitive use zone designation, which will create additional provisions listed in the ordinance as provided below. Restrict eligibility for the program to LA County residents or businesses to ensure the program is benefiting local operators. All approvals shall be provisional until after 1 year review period in which the applicant may be subject to a public hearing and review of conditions as determined by the planning department. Businesses with more than 5 complaints in the complaint portal shall be subject to a hearing to review conditions and mitigate any issues. Include the following provisions in the conditions of approval. Gross annual sales of alcoholic beverages shall not exceed 40% of the total gross annual restaurant sales. Any change in owner and or operator of the business shall require a new application for the RBP program. Limit the RBP program to beer and wine only during the first year of the program. Additional provisions for alcohol-sensitive use zones. Eligible applicants must be located in a census tract that has not been deemed as over-concentrated with on-site licenses as measured by the state's Department of Alcohol Beverage Control, ABC. If an applicant is located in a census tract that has been deemed as over-concentrated by ABC, they will be required to file for a conditional use permit. Applicants will be required to submit an outreach plan at the time they file an application for the RBP program to demonstrate their outreach efforts in the local community. The planning department will provide guidance on the requirements for the outreach plan. Programmatic instruction. Establish a portal for community members to file complaints and a method to validate the complaints. That concludes the instructions, Councilman. In addition, we have Mr. Cedillo's request, if you want me to reiterate those for the record,
Please,
Mr. Chair.
Please.
Mr. Cedillo has requested that the 30% outdoor dining cap be considered to be more flexibility lifted and discretionary to the council member of the district. Mr. Cedillo has requested that the 20-seat minimum also that there be some flexibility therein at the discretion of the council member of the district.
All right, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Blumenfield. Can you call the roll, Mr. Mejia?
Is that inclusive of Mr. Cedillo's request?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
very good. Council member Harris Dawson as chairman.
Yes.
Council member Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Council member Gilbert Cedillo.
Yes.
That's carries. It's a unanimous majority vote, 3 members.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Mejia. Can you confirm that that concludes our business for today?
It does. Councilman, just need you to, if we could also take a vote for items 6 and 7. The clerk has requested me to verify that these 2 items have been continued to the February 1st, 2021 meeting.
Yes.
Okay, so I will take a roll. Councilmember Harris Dawson as chair.
Yes.
Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo.
Yes.
That's 3 members. It carries.
Excellent. And
in addition, item 1 that was on the agenda, Mr. Chair, that item, Mr. Bertoni is not present. I assume that is being continued.
yes, we'll continue that for 7 days.
And now we have concluded the agenda, if that's your will, Councilman.
Excellent. 4 hours and 1 minute, and we're adjourned. Thank you all so much, everybody.
Good job, Mr. Chair. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yes.